Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:54, Monday, December 20th, 2021. This meeting of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education is being live streamed as well as recorded on our public website. It's also been noticed by the Village Green, tapintosoma.net, the Star Ledger, and News Record. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Burnside, please note for the record, all board members said they would be in attendance this evening, and with that, will you please call the roll?
Board member Susan Bergen.
Here.
Board member Shannon Cottle.
Here.
Board president Ayer Joshua.
Here.
Board member Anne Marie Manny.
Here.
Board member Alyssa Malaspina.
Late.
Board member Chris Saban.
Here.
Board member Aaron Siders.
Here.
Board member Courtney Wingfield.
Here.
Board member Johanna Wright.
Present.
All right. Student Rep Noah Morris as well, Mr. Burnside, for the roll call. Student Representative Noah Morris for the roll call.
Okay, I'll note him. He's not on the sheet though.
Noah's right there.
He's not on my roll call sheet.
Okay, but he should be, so let's just note him as attendant for the record. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to amend tonight's, to amend the agenda for this evening to move public speaks up. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Saban. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that appears to be unanimous. I'd also like to make a motion to hold this meeting virtually. May I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Saban. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that appears to be unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Burnside. Okay, we are now time, let me get the. All right, let me do the board statement first and then we'll go into it. The school business meeting is a business meeting in public, not a meeting with the public. Oftentimes, it may appear to members of our audience that the Board of Education takes action with very little comment, and in many cases, a unanimous vote. Before a matter is placed on the agenda at a public meeting, the administration has thoroughly reviewed the matter with the superintendent. If the superintendent is satisfied that the matter is ready to be presented to the Board of Education, it is then referred to the appropriate board committee. Members of the board committee work with the administration and the superintendent to assure that members fully understand the matter. After the committee discusses the matter, it is then shared with other board members for consideration. Only then is it placed on the agenda for board discussion and action at a public meeting. We are now at the time for hearings and individuals and delegations, known as public speaks. This is an opportunity for you to share your concerns about an item on the agenda, but is not a time for dialogue with the board. The board requests that you state your name and the town of your residence for the record. We will set the time to 2 minutes for each speaker, and we ask that you respect that time limit. We must cut you off so it does not appear as if we are giving anyone an advantage to share their views over another individual. Speakers have the full protection of free speech during public speaks. However, this forum does not protect you from the subject of your free speech pursuing libel and/or slander charges. Finally, the board recommends that all members of our community pursue the chain of command. All right, Mr. Brightside, do you have the list of, we'll start with the in-person public speaks?
Did you say 2 minutes?
Thank you. Our first in-person public speaks is from Laura Taranova.
Hi.
Good evening. Good evening. You have 2 minutes.
First, let me say that I'm a first grade teacher at Tuscan. My problems are not with Tuscan. It goes much higher into the district level. To put it bluntly, I hold 3 degrees, but I make $58,000. From the time I started at SOMSD until now, my salary has increased by $9,000 before taxes. That means that my raises per year have been around $1,000. To survive, and let me repeat that, to survive, not thrive, I've had to tutor, babysit, and sell merchandise. Research has shown that most people who hold multiple jobs are women. We all know that that teaching is a female-dominated workplace. As far as we have come in history, I'm starting to wonder if there is a correlation between teachers being underpaid and being a women-driven field. I would sure hope not in a district that prides itself on equity. I can sit here and tell you that teachers, women and men included, what we do every day, and you still wouldn't get it, and I don't expect you to. We go above and beyond. But teaching isn't really the job. Teaching is our lives. Meetings, gradings, emails, PDs, drying tears, all of that, that's the extra work, and we don't mind doing it, but we want to get paid for it. On any given day, my prep is eaten up by subbing for a colleague or my lunch break taken away to do recess or lunch duty. By the time I'm done, I have 20 minutes to eat or go to the bathroom. I'm highly qualified, and I love what I do, but it's really hard to keep doing it when I'm underpaid, overworked, and straight up just tired. I'm always willing to go above and beyond for my students and do that, whatever I have to do to create the home-to-school connection to close the achievement gap. As a taxpayer, I would be confused where my money's going. As a teacher, I'm disappointed in the lack of empathy and care we have for our educators. And as a board member, there's no possible way you could think this is beneficial for our students and overall goals that the district portrays on the website.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next in-person public speech is from Roberto Lopez.
Can I ask a favor, since we make some changes? We have here Assemblyman Thomas P. Gillin. Could we let him speak before, because he came all the way from Trenton to support us? Will that be allowed?
He can speak after you're done.
Okay, after me?
Go
Okay.
ahead. I called you. Your 2 minutes
Okay,
are
so
going
let
to
me know
start
when
now.
I have to speak. When my time starts, somebody can tell me, please? Okay. Okay, thank you. My name is Roberto Lopez. I'm the president of South Orange and Maplewood School District, proud resident of Maplewood now, and I am also an AP Spanish teacher in Columbia High School, AP reader as well. I have been a coach, many different jobs. But I have to tell you something. Obviously, you know why we're here. Many different reasons. You have more than 300 people here today. So this is not a group of people just telling you that this is not right. This is most of us. And the people that are not here is because they have families and they couldn't make it. But let me tell you the truth. I don't want to talk about money today. I want to talk about something that really hurt when you're an educator. It looks like I heard from my colleagues that we're doing a cultural responsive sustaining education committee. Guess what? Samea didn't have a clue about it. I am the leader elected from 750 members, and nobody reached to me. Let me tell you what. I have 21 years in the district. I am an immigrant. I am a Latinx. I am a lesbian. and nobody called me for that. More to say, I have a master's degree in educational leadership, and I have a master's degree in teaching Spanish as a second language, and a career in broadcasting. Why are we going outside and outsourcing things and getting people from outside when we have them inside? Which makes me to my next point. When we say last board meeting that Samea didn't want to do tutoring, we did our own survey. We got 200 responses, and 75% of the people said yes, they're willing to tutor. So this is what I'm going to do. Since there is no communication whatsoever with us, I call community leaders to have a meeting, an open forum with me, and anybody who wants to join, all stakeholders, agreeing to disagreeing, making South Orange and Maplewood better. I'll put a website, and I'll put the Zoom meeting in our Samea page. I will meet with anybody and everyone that cares about this district.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Assemblyman Thomas Gillin.
Thank you, Mr. Joshua, Dr. Taylor, and distinguished members of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education. My name is Thomas Gillin. I'm the business manager of Local 68 of the International Union of Operating Engineers. We represent the paraprofessionals who are employed in the school district. We're here tonight in solidarity with our brothers and sisters from the South Orange Maplewood Education Association. Some years ago, the board made a decision to contract out the services of the paraprofessionals. And I've always viewed as this area of Essex County and the state, South Orange and Maplewood, as being a very progressive area that looked out for the underdog and the people who needed a hand up. But if you look carefully at the facts about our paraprofessionals, and you look at the salary they're currently receiving, and they're contracted out, as I mentioned, but the contractor right now wants to give them an average salary increase of 35 cents an hour. And you know over the last 18 months especially about the issues of working, about loss of pay, about many other challenges. I might add that these same paraprofessionals are not in the public employees retirement system, do not have any benefits provided for them down the road, and the same thing as far as their health benefits is concerned. You have to do the right thing. I think if you sit down in the quiet of your evening and look at the facts, all we're looking for is a sense of decency as far as these members are concerned. We intend to do what we have to do in terms of bringing this message to the community, whether it's going to the governing bodies or trying to directly appeal to the residents of South Orange and Maplewood, because what we're looking for is fairness. I would encourage the board and the administrators to go back to the contractor and tell them that we're going to lift that lid of saying we're only going to provide 1.69% increase for these same people who've been frontline workers over the last 18 months, especially. It's important people who send their kids to the school district know that these same paraprofessionals have that dedication and zeal to really to look over many of these children who have special needs. And you see the hourly rate
Thank you, Assemblyman.
being provided. So we look forward to a positive result, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Our next public speaks is from Cheryl Lakin. Good evening, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Shira Lincoln, Vice President of Samea. I would like to bring your attention to the incredible burden our members face daily during this year and the lack of respect and due consideration from central administration of these challenges. Every week, members have a faculty meeting that lasts for an hour past the normal end of workday. Last week, without any preparation, we were broken into small groups and charged with completing a task and were given less than an hour to do so. Building leaders indicated that it was a district assignment that needed to be done by the end of the meeting. It appeared to be something that was thrown together at the last minute so the district can check a box and say, done. Staff members are overwhelmed. Each day we report to school, we learn of more students who must quarantine, more students who are sick, colleagues who are sick, families who are struggling, leaving us scrambling to prepare to meet their needs virtually. We are still trying to close the gap and teach struggling students who are struggling due to the effects of the pandemic. We are dealing with rising COVID cases in our schools while trying not only to stay healthy ourselves, but help keep our own families, spouses, children, and parents from getting sick. Do you realize how challenging this is? It is so easy for central office to give directives, but when was the last time they left their offices where they are safer from the virus than we are to actually visit schools? Educators are responsible for delivering lessons that are carefully designed to maximize learning for students who learn in a variety of ways. Why, during the month of December, when things are normally a bit more hectic, did central office not give thought to the outcome and effect of the task they demanded? Why was the important topic of culturally responsive, sustaining education not given the same consideration we give to our lessons in order to achieve a successful outcome? I wondered if we were being tasked with someone else's responsibility. What we need is understanding, support, and encouragement, not tasks that appear thoughtlessly thrown together at the last minute without so much as thought to its impact. Once again, please understand, we are working hard for our students, but make no mistake, we are overburdened and overwhelmed.
Thank you, Ms. Lincoln. Our next public speaks is from Amanda Mazzarella.
Okay. My name is Amanda Mazzarella, she, her. I am a lifelong Maplewood resident and the parent of 2 children at Tuscan. I myself attended Seth Boyd in Maplewood Middle, Columbia High School, and I currently teach at South Mountain Elementary School and I'm a head building representative for Samea. I am invested in this community and this school district from every angle. This is my 19th year teaching. It's my 10th year in SOMSD. I hold 3 teaching certificates, a master's degree, and postmaster's supervisor certification. Looking at our guide from top to bottom, despite having served as an educator in our district for 10 years, I've not moved nearly as many steps due to repeated collapses and freezes. 19 years experience and still far from the top. Looking left to right, our guide has oversimplified the levels of teacher education. Supervisor coursework includes classes, curriculum evaluation, implementation, instruction, and educational leadership, but not 30 credits worth. Despite continued education and experience that benefits my students, I've been stuck literally in the middle for a decade. When I saw salary guides from surrounding towns, I thought my year's experience in education, I could at least be making significantly more at the same underappreciated, exhausting work. Money is thrown at incomplete curricula, third-party consultants, redundant professional development, creating new positions, and extending expensive contracts for administration. I don't know the ins and outs of school budgeting, and I'm not about to take on yet another thing that is not my job, but it seems the money is there. However, it's not just about the money. Teacher voices are dismissed, diminished, and ignored. We are the experts here. We have spent countless hours in our practice making it as best as possible in these circumstances, yet our input is rarely sought out or respected. Last year, we blurred the lines between work and home. We put lesson plans and emails and student support ahead of our own family and health. We went above and beyond contractual duties day in and day out. And unless you are living with someone in education right now, you cannot even imagine the strain this has put on every aspect of our lives. We are done. Now, as a parent, as a teacher, an alumna, and a Samea member, I am asking you to come to negotiations in good faith and to work to retain, support, and respect the amazing educators that keep our district afloat.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzarella. Thank you, Ms. Mazzarella. next public speaks is from Lottie Williams. Good evening, you have 2 minutes.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Dr. Taylor, and to the board. My name is Lottie Williams. I'm a shop steward for Local 68, and I'm also a para at the Marshall Elementary School. I'm speaking on behalf of my fellow paras in the district. As you may know, we are currently working without a new contract. The offer that was presented to us by ES boiled down to 35 cents per para. We also know that our current salary is $21 and $22 and some change. The paras in our neighboring community salaries stand at $27 and $28 per hour with benefits. As you know, whenever school is closed, we do not get paid. We just want our fair pay. The majority of our paras are single parents who carry the weight of their families on their shoulders. To some people, that might mean nothing, but to us, it's something. We also carry the weight of our students. Sometimes we are abused physically and mentally by some of the students. I stood by and I watched one of the paras lean against the wall with tears rolling down her face after being constantly abused for over 30 days. Of course, I cried with her. The pain that was being felt was not so much for the physical part, it was the pain of knowing that this child was hurting too, but on a different level. We do care. So to that I say, this shirt represents what we're saying. We care. Your child is our child.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Marcy Paul Flores.
Good evening, Dr. Taylor and Mr. Joshua and the board. My name is Marie Paul Floresto. I represent the paraprofessionals, work for Local 68. Thomas Gillin is the business manager for Local 68. Since May of 2021, we have been trying to negotiate with ESS, and they came from all the way Tennessee. To negotiate with us. And what they're offering, basically, it's substandard. The paras cannot survive on 35 cents. As far as for stamps, you can't buy a forever stamp at 35 cents an hour. So paras are the backbone of the teachers in the classroom. And then to me, it's very insulting. And just to tell you that the district doesn't value the paraprofessional and the work that they've done since March 2020. Actually September 2020, the paraprofessionals have been working part-time on a virtual. So they went the whole year while everybody else working full-time. Paras only worked 20 hours. They couldn't collect unemployment, none of that. And then so the following year, when you ask the paras to come in to work, and then trying to negotiate a fair, wage for them. And, Dr. Taylor, we're trying to meet with Dr. Taylor, and the same thing with with Mr. Joshua, and refused to meet with us. So now I'm trying to appeal to not to teachers, but the parents and also the board to see the plight of the paraprofessionals. They want a wage increase. They have no health insurance. They have no pension plan. So all we can do is to increase their wage. We want whatever the teacher gonna get. Let's say if the teachers settle for 5% or a total of 20%, we want the same thing. A teacher's pay and the paraprofessionals' pay is not the same. So you're asking for pennies. So that's why we're here to asking to increase the paraprofessional. Outsourcing is not the way of moving South Orange School Maplewood forward.
Thank you. And apologies for the mispronunciation. Our next public speaks is from Christina Serpe.
My name is Christine Sargent. I am a resident of West Orange, a teacher in the district, and the wife of a CHS graduate. My husband attended Tuscan, where his teacher, Connie Bowser, made such an impact on his life that we named our daughter after her. She made him feel valued and checked in on him long after he left her classroom, but the life of a teacher in the early 90s is very different than teachers today. No child left behind, and the test stress that comes with it were not a factor. The epidemic of violence in schools and active shooter drills with 5-year-olds were unimaginable. And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic and all of the iterations of virtual learning was on no one's radar. Today, teachers in our buildings are still just as passionate about our students as ever, yet behind the scenes, many are falling apart. This job that we dedicate our lives to is leaving many people physically ill and stressed to the point that they need to seek mental health counseling and or leave teaching entirely. Why are teachers stressed and how can we help them? Messages of self-care and offers of free yoga is not what teachers need. This is what we need. We need prep time rather than being asked to cover for absent staff due to sub shortages. Being paid for our missed time does not make those precious planning minutes come back. We need the board to recognize that teaching in a pandemic is not business as usual. Requiring teachers to attend hours of professional development around co-teaching when they are not in that position is not a productive use of our time. Implementing a brand new phonics curriculum is a huge instructional ask when coupled with the impact of students returning to classrooms full-time after a year and a half of remote teaching and learning. We need PLC time to be spent focusing on topics that will help us with our everyday tasks of data analysis and exploring best practices instead of spending weeks learning a new protocol. Most of all, we need our pay to reflect that the teaching world has been turned on its head since March 2020. We have been creating new curriculum supports, modifying textbooks for online lessons, and turning hand-on activities into virtual seesaw assignments. We've been asked to return to hybrid learning for quarantine students at a moment's notice, and the enormous amount of work that goes into it goes unrecognized. We are not asking for you to match the superintendent's 15% raise, but we are asking for you to pay us what we are worth.
Thank you. Our next, please. Our next public speaks is from Laurie Feb.
Yeah, talk about it. Let's go. Come on, Stan. You're bring some more because people gonna turn this all the way up. Okay. Go.
Hi, my name is Laurie Feb. I'm Samea treasurer. I'm a 19-year resident of Maplewood and 18 years in the district. I'm reading a letter from a retired teacher, Catherine Politi. To the members of the SOMSD Board of Education, I am writing as a concerned retired teacher in support of the Samea issues and seeking a fair and reasonable contract. Please recognize the efforts and demands placed upon teachers and staff through the COVID crisis these past 2 years by settling the contract ASAP. The board should try to retain veteran teachers as well as to attract new teachers into the district. You need to promote both continuity of instruction and innovation from new hires. Unfortunately, the district pay scale for teachers and staff is the lowest in Essex County, resulting in loss of personnel. There is a nationwide and statewide teacher shortage. The few available qualified candidates to replace retiring personnel accept employment elsewhere, yet the citizens of South Orange Maplewood pay some of the highest property taxes in the county and state. Pay scale and fair contracts have been an issue since I was first employed there in 1985, but has grown to crisis mode of late due to dwindling benefits and increased demands on the teacher's duties. When I began teaching in 1972, I was aware of the low salary potential for a teacher. I accepted that because paid health insurance for myself and family, as well as promised pension with cost of living increase, were enticements to stay. Then slowly but surely, the pension was underfunded, COLA was no more, and the insurance benefits dwindled. Teachers today have a tough choices to make. I live comfortably and am grateful every day for the pension to which I contributed and for the paid health benefits I earned. I wish the same and more for my former dedicated and talented colleagues. Respectfully yours, Catherine N. Politi.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Phil McCormick.
Hello, my name is Phil McCormick, and I've been serving as an educator at Columbia High School for the past 14 years. First as a social studies psychology teacher for 11 years, and now serving in my 3rd year as a school social worker on the child study team. I'm also the Samea secretary. First, let me say that I love working in the South Orange Maplewood School District, and I love working at Columbia High School. However, that is not why I've chose to speak up this evening. I'm speaking as a dedicated and hardworking professional to share with you, the board, as well as the South Orange Maplewood community, that our teacher salaries are not sustainable. Our salary guides lag significantly behind our neighboring Essex County school districts, and they certainly do not reward loyalty. As a 14-year educator with a master's degree, I'm earning anywhere from 5 to 10K less per year than what I would be learning in similar, in some cases adjacent, Essex County districts. As an aside, I recently bought my first home, not here in South Orange, Maplewood, but in another wonderful Essex County community, not far from here, to which SOMA or MAPSO often compares itself. Why do I share this? I share this to stress the importance that it took me 14 years as an educator in this district. In addition to working as a part-time lecturer at the college level over the past 5 years, facilitating workshops at national conferences, as well as a number of other personal sacrifices in order to afford a modest home in a community very similar to this one. And I'm single and have no dependents. I can't imagine how my colleagues with children must struggle in order to live in this community. It's no wonder why so many of them, good teachers, are leaving. The interesting thing to me, though, is that if I were to serve in the same capacity with the same level of experience and education in the town in which I live, Montclair, I just may have been able to afford that home sooner. I have no regrets, though. I have chosen to stay here over the years. However, many teachers are choosing not to stay here, and therein lies the problem. As someone who cares about this community so greatly, our students, I urge you to pay our teachers and staff competitively and show them that you value their labor. That's how you'll retain them, and with better teacher retention and thus greater investment and stability in our district, students can only benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is from Ryan Varney.
My name is Ryan Varney. I reside in Parsippany, but have been calling the South Orange and Maplewood School District, specifically MMS, home for 14 years. 14 years ago in 2008, and 8 steps ago, I signed a contract during the worst time to want to be a teacher, as there were virtually no teaching jobs available. I applied to countless districts, got many callbacks and offers, but I chose SOMSD and never looked back. I have my master's in ed leadership 14 years in, and unfortunately very little to show for it, albeit a reputation that precedes me and the pride I have to be carrying out the dream of my 2-year-old self. If I left the district, I'd make $10,000 to $20,000 more than I am now on the same 8th step. However, I chose and continue to choose SOMSD as my home. On top of my full-time career as being a teacher, which I should be able to support me, it doesn't. So I tutor 4 days a week, work part-time at the Friendship Circles Lifetown for children and young adults with special abilities, am a clinical supervisor for an accredited university, and have few other stipend positions in a district and at MMS, such as being a part of a variety of district committees, running yearbook the past few years with amazing colleagues Meredith and Mary Alice, having been a team leader the past 9 years, Go Red Tigers, and have run district special education department's ESY program for the past 3 years with Tivoli Hunt and all of our amazing staff members. I call SOMSD home. I call it home because I'm dedicated to serving your children and sacrifice so much of my own blood, sweat, and tears. I want to stay. Incoming staff are making more than those of us who dedicated their entire teaching careers to SOMSD, therefore making it challenging to want to stay and survive. While I'm on the topic, I'd be remiss not to mention that it seems that it's a common theme with administration too, and that the district notoriously hires out-of-district administrators who notice the trend of a revolving door, promise their stay publicly, and then make their exit 1 to 2 years later to make more money and in some of our most vulnerable and specialized departments. Why not hire from within? Why not ensure your staff that have been here for a while feel valued? I have to ask myself, where is this trend coming from and who can change it? You, the board members, you have the power to change it. So those of us who choose SOMSD as home choose to actually stay and feel respected. So while I say I call SOMSD, please help me feel respected. Help me feel appreciated. Help me feel like I am home. All in love, not hate. We are here to negotiate.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is from Jacob Chafin.
Hi, my name is Jacob Chafin. I've lived in Maplewood for the last 6 years. I'm proud to call Maplewood my home now. When I chose to live here, it was because my wife is a teacher here at Columbia High School. We chose to live in Maplewood and for her to teach in Maplewood because it was a community in which we knew our values would be seen in this community and reflected in the schools. And we knew that there was a team of anti-racist teachers in which she could work with, and knowing that she wouldn't be like the pushback that you might see elsewhere in this country. We see this going on everywhere else. Teachers are afraid to be their authentic selves, to push for an education that can change the world. But Maplewood's different. And we wanted to be somewhere where that would be reflected. Earlier it was said that if you're not a spouse of a teacher, you don't see what they go through. In the last 2 years, I've seen what a pandemic can do to a teacher when suddenly your whole world's turned upside down and everything's back online, and you see that kind of frustration. And you see it as the world continues to change in drastic ways. They turn to the teacher and they say, can you do more for our students? Can you do more? And every teacher here, they do that. They'll do whatever it takes to make South Orange, Maplewood, and the rest of this world better, because they love your students in this community. And what's disappointing is in the last year, I've seen this board vilify the teachers. When teachers chose public health, they turned on the teachers and they tried to divide the community from the teachers. The teachers chose to fight for themselves and for their students and for their community, and I don't see that being reflected from this board. So I have a question. Do you think that going to impasse is living up to the values that we share here in Maplewood? I don't. I don't see this board reflecting those values. I don't see it respecting the teachers, the paraprofessionals, and the rest of the staff. Instead, what we're going to see is a continuation of teachers leaving. It can stop. You have the power to change that. You need to do what's right. Come back to the table, bargain a fair contract, keep the teachers, staff, and paraprofessionals in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is from Lorraine Sudall.
Hello, everyone. I reside in South Orange, and I've even taught some of your children, Miss Maney, Miss Siders, even Mr. Mizoki and Miss Subieta, who are here. I began working at SOMSD in 2000 at a master's plus 30, which is your highest, from Teachers College, Columbia University. I have 3 masters, actually. Fast forward 9 years later, I took my son out to dinner to celebrate my first contract breaking $50,000. Almost 10 years of struggling as a single parent with a mortgage. 6 years after that, in about 2015, at my 15th year, we went out to dinner again, celebrating breaking $75,000. 2 years ago, at 19 years of service, I reached the top of the pay scale. But let us not forget, I'm now earning less than what I did 5 years ago due to paying 55% of my health insurance premiums for myself and my daughter. I chose to keep the Blue Cross Blue Shield due to the extensive health care needs of my family. My daughter, who received almost a full ride to college as a direct result of the severely underpaid teachers in this district who went above and beyond for her, I thank them. 21 years of service. And just so there's no question, I am rated highly effective on my summatives and have been for many, many years. Fair pay after 21 years. I think it's long past due. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is from Lynn or Lene Marshall. Apologize for the mispronunciation. Please correct me. Lynn Marshall, my apologies.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Marshall. I've taught English at Columbia High School for 20 years. Tonight, I'm here to share an observation experience that is not unique to me, but reveals practices that are fairly new and apparently here to stay, but which are also nebulous at best and at worst frustrating, demoralizing, and arbitrary. My most recent observation took place during an early lesson in the oral tradition unit of my Literature of the African Diaspora course. The lesson was student-centered and involved lots of moving parts, which, as my observer correctly noted, necessitated the involvement and engagement of each and every student. Remarkably, however, the observation report I received cited that my lesson left room for improvement in 7 of 16 Danielson components that the scant 20 to 25-minute observation was meant to cover and assess. I found all this rather surprising since I thought the lesson had gone quite well, so I scrolled down in search of what for me has always been the most helpful part of any observation report, the anecdotal commendations and recommendations for growth. However, I reached the bottom of the report and for the first time in my teaching career found nothing. When I brought this up at my post-observation meeting, I was advised that displaying certain anchor charts or posters in my classroom walls and/or singling out students with special needs or 504s would have contributed to higher scores. Dumbfounded, I responded that if this were the case, I didn't want higher scores. As a lifelong learner, I am willing to accept that there are areas in which I might still need to grow in my teaching practice. However, educators are entitled to the same transparency we are expected to offer students about their performance benchmarks. Partly due to a dearth of adequate and effective training, a great many of my colleagues and I have no idea what constitutes exemplary performance on the vague and seemingly moving target that is the Danielson framework. As natural overachievers, we aim for higher performance, but only as much as this results in better and authentic outcomes for our students. The observation process as it's currently being implemented is pedantic at best, offering very little to teachers who genuinely want to use it as a vehicle for growth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next public speaks is from Suzanne Urban Ryan.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Urban Ryan. I have been a resident of Maplewood for nearly 37 years. I am a veteran teacher. I am in my 42nd year of teaching, 25 of which were here in Maplewood, South Orange. I taught at Maplewood Middle School, Tuscan, Jefferson, Marshall, and I had my last 9 years at Columbia High School. I taught many of your children. I chose to leave after 25 years. I believe that our district is a tale of two districts at this time. It is the best of times because you want to make it look like it is the best of times, but it is the worst of times. And I will tell you, inherently, I left here at 25 years because I did not feel that I was valued. I chose to leave. I am teaching still because I love teaching. You lost me, and you hemorrhage teachers between 80 and 100 teachers per year. That is because while I respect each and every one of you and the time that you are giving, you as a board are dysfunctional. You do not work as a board for the greater betterment of our children and our community. You cannot get along together. You disrespect one another. When a Board of Ed member has to resign because they are disrespected, that says who you are as a working board. This board needs to do what you are asking all these wonderful teachers to do, to value the diversity, to value the opinions, to value the voices. Right now, you do not. Make no mistake, the strength of this district lies in the teachers that teach here.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Cassandra Little.
Y'all teachers, y'all wouldn't have y'all job. How about that? Yeah, facts.
Good evening. Before I begin this evening, I just want to say I stand in full solidarity with the Selma teachers. They deserve proactiveness and not reactiveness, and that includes the living salary within a contract agreement. I'm pissed this evening. I'm not from Maplewood or South Orange, but I just want to let you know that something happened in this district that was a human rights violation and cannot afford to happen ever again. All eyes are on Selma, South Orange, Maplewood Public Schools. Because just recently, you had a teacher, and yes, we stand in full solidarity with teachers, but we have to call out the inhumane violations that are happening in our everyday classrooms. Because a black young girl was traumatized now because she got her hijab ripped off. From the outside looking in, I don't see this being acted on with urgency and the emergency that it is. I see reactiveness. I don't see proactiveness. I don't see her life being valued or cherished in all aspects of life. I see you playing around with it. The community are owed full transparency and accountability to what happened. And it cannot afford to happen again. She deserves to be fired and charged. That's right. Fired and charged. That's right. Immediately. Because that pain is real. It's real trauma that can't be remedied. And if that was your child or your loved one, due to their religious beliefs, you want them to feel protected and valued in all aspects of life and in all aspects in your classroom. So in closing, I want to say, do the right thing, the moral thing, the ethical thing, and the just thing, and remedy traumas, pain, and sufferings in your classrooms as we speak. I yield back.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is from Staci Gregg.
How we know they're listening? It should be complete disrespect.
Staci Gregg from Rockaway. I'm here in solidarity with the teachers. I came this evening to speak about the young lady who had her civil rights violated as a child in this district by having her hijab pulled off of her head just recently. I Googled it. Came right on up from the New York Times article, as well as many other articles, and I know you got some nice coverage on the news stations as well. When it happened the first time, it's outrageous. It's my understanding it happened not one, but two, but three times. Where are the follow-up stories? Now, I was an investor in Maplewood. I was impressed with the town council. They worked with me as a person who was trying to improve a house that was a squatter's house, changed into a tax-paying, very high tax-paying home for the new owners who are happy to be Maplewood residents, whether they stay here to have their children or they sell it to another homeowner down the road that decide to have children and go to these schools. You're losing the reputation that you have as being the place to go for good education. When you treat women like you've treated the women in this room, and I'm going to say women because it is primarily a female job, you should not be able to sleep at night. You need to do whatever it takes to get the women and the men who are teaching your children a living wage. In this day and age, with what we've gone through in the last 2.5 years with COVID, it's unbelievable. The whole world is watching teachers and supporting teachers. We're worried about the children who cannot get vaccinated. And this is how you treat them. You give a superintendent a 15% raise, and primarily jobs held by women. You're not protecting the women. You're not fighting for them as a board. You need to do better. There's women up there. You need to speak up. I come with signs tonight from the National Organization for Women to Stop Racism in solidarity with the child who had her hijab torn off, and in solidarity with the mostly female, I'm finishing up, mostly with the female teachers that are part of this district.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Kess. All right, we'll move on. Our next public speaks is from Monica Martin.
Hello, I'm a resident of Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm here about the case with the teacher who forcibly removed a hijab from a second grade student at Seth Boyden Elementary School. There were a series of documented complaints allegedly against this teacher. One incident happened on October 6, 2021, with the hijab. On the same exact day, this teacher allegedly snatched a water bottle from another Black student and threw it in the trash. After an exchange between the parent who complained and the school's principal, this teacher apologized, allegedly. In April 2017, there was another incident in which this teacher allegedly sided with a white student when snacks were mixed up and a Black student's snacks were wrongfully given to the white student. I understand this teacher was suspended with pay. It's like a paid vacation. I'm saying that's not enough. We need to remove her permanently, and she needs to be fired. We must not tolerate racial and religious bias ever, ever, ever.
Thank you. Our next in-person public speaks is from Christina Serpe. Apologies for mispronunciation.
First, I want to say that I give thanks for everyone standing here in solidarity tonight. This is powerful. I think we need to start doing this more as a community, and not just here. I'm talking about everywhere, because it's really a pandemic everywhere, not just here. So I just wanted to give thanks for everyone showing up tonight. Okay? I don't need to have a seat. I used to live in this community, grew up in this neighborhood. Not a problem. You're welcome. I grew up in this neighborhood. I grew up in Essex County. My children went to Seth Boyd, and I have 2 graduates. I have children that graduated from Maplewood Middle School, okay? I used to live right there on Boyden Avenue. So I'm very familiar with the territory here. What I hear a lot tonight is that we're talking about inhumane, immoral things done by humanity. I don't even understand how we as a people know these things, but because of a paycheck and for security, we forget about our human rights. We think as long as we safe in our homes with our children, that you're safe and your children are safe. What happens when your children have to interact with the rest of those that are suffering? Because these things do happen. We try to give our children everything, try to make sure that they're able to, have the bare necessities, the moral conduct that we associate ourselves with having. Oh, it won't be my child. Look, we looking over there like, well, it ain't us. We did what we were supposed to do. We got in, and it's like, who are you looking for refuge for? Like, what is the definition of a community today? I feel like we're not identifying with that because we're so caught up with bureaucracy. We're so caught up with policies, with systems, that we forget that we have morals. Where is people's morals at today? I heard a lot of teachers talk about today about child pay. I have to speak on this. Everyone in here knows what happened to that little baby that got the hijab pulled off her head. Okay? I think it's inhumane that none of the teachers in here spoke about that. And I have to speak on that. Because I'm not going to just speak on them. I'm going to hold y'all accountable too. Okay? Because I see y'all talk very well. I heard some powerful statements in here today. I heard some pots being banged on.
Thank you.
And I'm like,
Thank
what
you, Ms.
about
Serpe.
the solidarity of this child?
Thank you, Ms. Serpe. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay. But
Thank you.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to walk away. Okay? Because it needs to be said. It needs to be said.
I'm
going to say this.
I have a list of 30 more people I need to get to this evening. Thank you.
Get it together.
Thank
because
you.
It's inhumane, and what you're saying right now is inhumane, and you need to let
No,
me finish.
I'm actually
'Cause
trying.
Number one, I'm a sister.
No, it's
I'm
not.
a sister. I'm a woman, so you will respect what I'm saying.
You need to respect the form of this meeting, and I have 30 more folks I need to get to. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next audio And that concludes our in-person public speaks. We'll now move to the audio ones. Our first audio public speaks is from William Wheeler. Mr. Bonds, do we have? Yep.
Hello?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
William Wheeler?
Yes, can you hear me?
You need to speak up a little bit louder.
Is that better? Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better?
That'll work. Go ahead. And Mr. Bonds, this is a student, just to be clear. Go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, William Wheeler.
Good evening. My name is William Wheeler. I live in Maplewood and am a 9th grade student at Columbia High School. With the recent reports of rising COVID-19 cases within our district schools, many have been developing concern in-person learning shall remain an option in the coming months, or whether we shall engage in virtual learning. In particular, with the impending holiday break, it is probable that such number of cases may only increase. As a result, many of my peers, myself included, have concerns over the reintroduction of virtual learning.
William Wheeler, we are having trouble hearing you. All right, let's pause the timer for a minute. All right, so it's, what is it? 8:55? Okay, we just got about 10 minutes. All right, we'll come back to you, William Wheeler. Right now, let's go to our next student public speak, Sophia Levy. Do we see that participant, Mr. Bonds?
No, we do not.
Was that a no?
No, we do not.
Okay. William Wheeler, if you can get back on, I will come back to you. Thanks. Our next audio public speaks is from Monaco Morton. Oh, wait, that person just spoke, so we'll move on. Our next public speaks is from Colin Malone.
I don't see that name either.
All right. Our next public speaks is from Nicole Josie.
Same.
Nicole Josie. No?
No.
All right. Move on. Our next one is from Jennifer Ostrega. Ah, there it is, Jennifer. Oops, hold on. Nope. Jennifer, can you hear us?
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jennifer Ostrega. I'm a resident of Maplewood and a mom of a SOMSD student. I'm an English as a second language teacher in Irvington Public Schools and an adjunct professor at Kane University. And I do stand in solidarity with all Samea teachers and all our wonderful, amazing students. In addition to all my jobs, I have been a volunteer Sandy Hook Promise Leader for our district since 2016. And I've introduced this free Start with Hello curriculum carried out by our amazing principals and teachers. Now I'm asking our district to urgently adopt another free program, this time for our middle school and high school students. It's called the Know the Signs program. And in addition to training all staff and students an anonymous reporting app that will essentially shift perceptions of school climate, school safety, school connectedness, and trust and emotional support at school. A recent study last year out of the National Center of School Safety at the University of Michigan reports this program has trained 2.9 million participants and has helped 2,700 students during mental health crises. South Orange Maplewood School District needs to adopt this Sandy Hook Promise, no-cost Say Something program that teaches our middle and high school students to recognize warning signs of someone at risk of hurting themselves or others. Milburn and West Essex have implemented this program, and Milburn's superintendent, I recently asked her about it, and she quoted me, and I quote, she said, "We connect with students on many levels in order to provide the support of a caring adult while in school. And if students feel they need to share information, they don't feel comfortable with sharing directly with someone, they have the resource of the Say Something program through an email, text, or phone call. There's always someone 24/7, 365 that gives children the comfort to provide them with another outlet to support our students or their friends to help them get the support they need. Violence prevention, everyone, is more than just 1 week of respect on our calendar. There should be supports in place 24/7 every day of the school year for the safety of our kids. So in the absence of a security director,
Thank you,
I
Ms.
urge the
Ostrega, your time is up.
New Jersey School District to
Thank you, Ms.
adopt this
Ostrega, your time is up.
life-saving program. And I know you gave the other
Thank you,
participant
Ms.
a little
Ostrega,
more
your
than
time is up.
I just want to end by saying, please,
Thank you, Ms.
before
Ostrega,
any
your
other
time is
lives
up.
are lost, make sure that you do adopt this
Thank you, Ms.
life-saving.
Ostrega, your time is up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Our next audio public speaks is from Kim Collins. Mr. Bonds? Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 2 minutes.
Hi. Hi, my name is Kim Collins, she, her, and I live in South Orange. I've had kids in the district for nearly 20 years, since 2002, and my youngest is a senior this year. I would like to lend my voice in solidarity with our teachers. When we see someone in the military, it's typical to say, thank you for your service, even though we know our troops are underpaid, risk their lives, and buy their own body armor and uniforms. Our praising of teachers as heroes feels similarly hollow and inadequate to me. It seems like teachers always have to say, I didn't go into teaching for the money, yet this is not something we expect of any other profession. And in fact, our teachers can go elsewhere and take their expertise with them to earn a competitive salary. Our district is nothing without our teachers, many of whom are also our neighbors. I feel ashamed of our district for demanding so much of our teachers and yet repeatedly failing to prioritize them. Let's honor them and thank them for their service with more than platitudes. Do it by getting back to the table, negotiating a fair contract, and pay them fairly and acknowledge all of their training. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next audio public speaks is from Alex Patron.
To confirm, you said Alex Patron?
Yes, Petrone.
I do not see that member in the list.
Okay, our next public speaks is from Kristen Barber.
Same thing. I do not see that person.
Our next public speaks is from Gregory Mortensen.
I apologize. Kristen Barber is available.
Okay, we'll go back. Our previous public speaks is from Kristen Barber.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, yes, I'm Kristen Barber. I'm a teacher at Columbia High School, and I'm the Health and Safety Co-Chair for Samea. I'm here to speak about health and safety, not only at Columbia High School, but in the district as a whole. I've had an incident happen to myself personally at Columbia High School where a student had gotten in the building through a side door entrance, accosted me, came after me. He was escorted out of the building, and he ran around and got into the same entrance again and accosted me and came after me. The police had to be called. I had to go to court. And after that incident, I asked for a lot of changes to happen to make me feel safer in the school. And really nothing has changed. After talking to a lot of other teachers throughout the years, I learned that this was not the first time something like this has happened. This goes all the way back to 2006, where someone got in the building and assaulted a staff member's son. And there were no major changes made after that. So I really do not feel very safe in the building, knowing that people can get into one of the 68 doors that we have and no changes have really been made. We have students entering the building without IDs. I watch them come in during the lunch periods, and they freely come in a big mass of students. I don't know how anybody would be able to recognize somebody who's not supposed to be in the school. And we've had several incidences of people getting into the building that way. I watch students enter the building in the morning through the multiple doors that they have arranged for the different grades. Nobody is checking IDs. Nobody can possibly know 2,300 kids in the school and recognize a face that should not be there. We recently had an incident where a student was suspended for a very serious offense, and he was found to be in the building a day or two later. No code was called. We could have been in danger, and no code was called to put our lives, I mean, we were putting our lives on the line, and many people did not feel safe after that. So I would beg you to institute some sort of safety measures, some sort of ID that students would wear coming into the school, so we have a better idea of who is actually in our school at any moment in time.
Thank you, Kristen Barbara. Thank you. Your time is up. Our next public speaks is from Gregory Mortensen.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Mortensen. I am from Maplewood. I am speaking to you tonight about the busing application for my son, Henry Mortensen. You should have received prior to this meeting a certification that I drafted dated November 2nd. And simply put, I'm asking you to overturn the decision of Dr. Taylor and immediately provide busing for Henry. My wife, Megan, will speak next about the hardship not providing busing has caused our family. But simply put, as my certification makes clear, we qualify for busing under NJSA 18A-39:1 based on an actual measurement that I provided. There is no basis for the board to rely on software algorithms over actual measurements, and we are therefore asking you to overturn Dr. Taylor's decision and immediately provide busing for Henry. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Megan Mortensen.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you. You have 2
Okay.
minutes. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Megan Mortensen, and I live in Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm speaking in regards to the busing application of my son Henry, a kindergartner at Clinton Elementary. As my husband mentioned, you should have received our certification. As I've told Dr. Taylor at the beginning of the school year, spending an hour and a half getting my son to and from school is a hardship for me. I was hoping to go to work as a teacher, but given the situation, I've had to put that on hold. This situation has put a huge amount of stress on our family. Please ratify my petition to get Henry transportation immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is from John Jeffries. Okay, thank you. Our next public speaks is from Dean Daffis.
Good evening, President Joshua. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Mayor-elect Daffis, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, President Joshua. Good evening, sir, and a good evening to Dr. Taylor and my esteemed colleagues on the board, friends and neighbors of Maplewood and South Orange. First off, I'd like to say emphatically, I stand with our teachers. I'm heartened and inspired by tonight's civic engagement, which is definitely one of the hallmarks of our community. As incoming mayor of Maplewood, I look forward to our working even closer together on the important issues raised tonight, respecting our teachers, protecting and supporting our students. But I am here to salute, applaud, and thank Board Member Cuddle for their tireless and exceptional service to our community in the best interests of students' wellness, health, empowerment, and success. Shannon has sincerely demonstrated their commitment to successful policymaking on behalf of our students' achievement, their safety, inclusivity, empowerment, health, and wellness. Our updated policies because of Shannon in these areas are models for other districts across the state. And when not in the boardroom, Shannon can be found in the community, helping feed hungry families and attending community events in ways that other board members, I might add, do not. However, aside from these platitudes, the best way to honor Shannon is to carry on their work in furtherance of safe and welcoming school environments and curricula that educate about and represent all students. Happy holidays to all. Please stay safe, practice social distancing, wear your masks, and please, if you haven't been boosted yet, get boosted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It is shortly after 9, so we are at the end of the first public speaks. The folks who are on this list, we will come back to you during the second one. We'll now move on to, I believe, the board recognitions. And first, to recognize, former member Kamal Zubieta will be former member Tony Mizaki, or Anthony. I'm not sure how he wants to go today. No.
Is this on? Do you mind if I face this way? Good evening, everybody. And I want to quickly thank, that's so much better. Jeez. Thanks, Keith. I'd like to thank all of our educators here today. Thank you for what you've done this year, getting us back to school. Thank you.
I'm not sure that's on, Tony.
It is, I can hear him.
On? Yes.
Yeah,
That
there we
sounds
go.
like it's on. Okay. Anyway, it is my great pleasure to take a moment here this evening to recognize the service of Kamal Zubieta to this Board of Education here and this district at large. I met Kamal here in the latter part of 2019. She was sitting right here, as a matter of fact. I was sitting up there, and she was interviewing for a vacant Board of Education seat. I'd never met Kamal before. I was eager to learn about her. And she proceeded to speak rather eloquently, I might add, about her thoughts on education, her belief in all students, her desire to work fluidly as a member of a team, and something she said over and over again, her desire to listen deeply and collaborate. It really resonated with me, and a few moments later, I was very happy to cast my vote for her to join us on the Board of Education. And I was happy to see that the majority of my colleagues concurred, and she joined us. Upon joining, she practiced exactly what she preached. She had a lot to learn about. There was a little bit of a learning curve. We had to onboard a lot of knowledge. She did her homework away from the horseshoe. She did her homework in the horseshoe. She listened deeply. She collaborated. She engaged intensely outside of here and in committee work. And she caught up. She developed her own opinions, which she always had, but they were informed. And one of the things that I liked about her so much was that when we engaged in an argument, we did have differences of opinion. We did so respectfully. We had a couple of disagreements too, Kamal, but whenever we did, I felt very heard by her, and I hope you felt the same by me, and we moved on. I was happy to see that she decided to seek the seat again, and she ran again and won a seat here on the Board of Ed. And the problems that we thought we had in 2019, we had no idea of what was to come. And 2020 hit. She served through 2020 during arguably one of the most challenging times in the history of public education, like everybody else here, giving up their time, their energy, both physical and emotional, living in real time with your own family, your own professional life, your own children, with all the rest of us, with the challenges that were brought on by this pandemic that amplified all that was good, bad, and ugly in this district. And she did it with grace. She did it with that collaborative spirit. So in essence, I want to thank you for your service, Kamal. I would say one of the best compliments that I possibly could get coming off of sitting on a body like this would be that I did so with great integrity. And I would like to tell you that you did so with great integrity and the community, and I thank you for that, Kamal. Thank you very much. It's your turn.
Do we want to give it a plaque before she speaks or after?
Mr. Bernstein's ready whenever we're ready. Yeah, why don't we give it and take a pic? There you go.
All right. You guys, Tony, gonna read it? Okay.
Again. Keith, on, off.
Sounds off. Just grab that one. That one right there is on.
In recognition and appreciation of your service to the South Orange Maplewood School District as a member of the Board of Education, February 2020, May 2021, South Orange Maplewood, New Jersey. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kamal Subieta. I would like to thank the Board of Education of 2020 for electing me and for putting their faith in me. It was my honor and my privilege to serve our children and the South Orange Maplewood School District. I would also like to thank my family for supporting me. Te amo, mi amor. I would also like to thank the South Orange Maplewood community for electing me to the Board of Education of 2021. I am proud that during the ongoing public health crisis, we were able to expand free breakfast and lunch to all children, to provide Chromebooks and hotspots, and to eliminate summer school fees for any child whose family made a request. We made strides in bringing social justice to our schools. We approved an initiative to integrate our schools, and we passed a policy ensuring that our transgender students feel loved and safe in our district. New board members will be sworn in next month, and it is my request to them and to the board members who are continuing on to keep your focus on our children. Our children are everything. Today, I ask you to honor their intelligence and love of learning, to challenge them to reach the highest levels of academic achievement, and to provide resources to ensure their success. I ask you to address the learning gaps resulting both from the pandemic and from systemic issues. I ask you to expand your work on supporting the social and emotional needs of our children. I ask you to empower our teachers. Our children look to them for education, guidance, leadership, love, and kindness. I ask you to embrace the diversity of our children and of each other, including culture, religion, immigration status, socioeconomic status, learning style, and many other factors that shape the stories of our community members. I ask you to model respectful dialogue in which diversity is treated as a gift, a joy, and an asset. Diversity of thought, diversity of story, and diversity of perspective are the strengths of our community. They are why I love South Orange Maplewood. The Board of Education of 2022 has an incredible opportunity and a tremendous responsibility to focus on our children, to support them, and to love them. Today, I ask you to celebrate and honor our children.
All right, moving on. Next, we will go to Board Member Siders, who has a few words for one of our colleagues.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm here to recognize Board Member, hold on, it's on, sorry. I'm here to recognize Board Member Chris Saban. For those of you who are not familiar, Chris has previously served a 3-year term on this Board of Education, including serving on the Executive Committee. So Chris, you probably started out 2021 living your best post-board, private citizen pandemic life. And you probably never dreamed that you would be back in this horseshoe. But here you are. The board had a need and you heeded that call. Your 5 months on this board have been well served. Your calm, your insightfulness, your honesty has been greatly appreciated. We cannot thank you enough for this additional service with this board and to the district, the community, and to our students. I hope you enjoy the remainder of 2021 and reverting back to being that private citizen, and much success with the next chapter of your life in 2022.
Thank you. I get to say a few words, I think, which would be thank you to this community. And I mean that in such a positive way. This evening is as emotional as it has been, and the words that have been shared by everybody. I commend Kamala. I don't believe we've actually had a chance to ever meet, but everybody who serves, thank you everybody who has served, and thank you for our teachers for serving us as well. This is a difficult job to do. Your job is very difficult. This job is very difficult. This is not something that we all want to be able to be involved with this. We want to give our best. We want to help the community. And we all know that all of our families suffer from this. Your families suffer. Our families suffer. We all are giving something of ourselves to help move this community in the right direction, where nobody is suggesting, please, and I did not do this for anything but to help everybody else, because I saw or felt that I could help serve or fill a void. But we here as citizens, as individuals, we try to represent and bring forward the issues as part of a team, as part of a group that can hopefully work together. It sometimes can be a mess making the sausage, and it is not pretty, but that doesn't mean that we're not all striving for the exact same thing. Every board member, whether they're on here now and over the 3 years while I was on the board previously, everybody is looking to do the exact same thing, which is serve the community. I say thank you, and I'm really happy to learn more from everybody here, and I thank everybody that comes out and asks the hard questions, because you guys push people to make things right for everybody. So just thank you guys.
Thank you. I will now turn it over to Board Member Susan Bergen, who has a few words for our next honoree.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Board Member Cuddle, you have been such a pleasure to work with. You've been such a pleasure to work with, both as community volunteers over the years together and in the last year on the Board of Ed in service together. You've been an example, both in your words and your actions, of a leader with integrity, empathy, and compassion. You pushed us to do better and to be better. As the first known openly non-binary elected official in the state of New Jersey, your service on the board has shown us that representation does matter. Under your leadership, this board and then the statewide NJSBA Delegate Assembly adopted a position statement affirming and supporting LGBTQ+ students across New Jersey. As a result of your work, best practices for the safety and support of LGBTQ+ students are now included in the NJSBA statewide policy manual. You've been a tireless advocate for our students, always using your voice to amplify voices of marginalized students. You work to create welcoming and inclusive school communities through the District Sexual Assault Task Force and the board's groundbreaking transgender policy. You began the beautiful tradition of the lavender graduation to celebrate our LGBTQ+ students at graduation. Tonight, you're leading us to wipe clean the lunch debt slate. You're leaving the district kinder and more inclusive than you found it. On behalf of the board and the SOMSD community, thank you for your service on the board. This is the start of a new chapter of advocacy and service for you, and I'm excited to see what this chapter brings. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Bergen, for the very thoughtful, kind words. It's nice to hear kind words. Thank you. Excuse me. So first I would like to deeply thank and acknowledge my fellow board colleagues working. Thank you, Mr. Bonds. First, I'd like to thank my board colleagues. I hold deep esteem and respect for those that are currently in service, those that I previously served in service, and also want to recognize Board Member Zubieta in our service, and those that became before me. And also want to recognize our district leadership, staff, students, and families for all of their tireless efforts that they have done in order to help move our district forward together. One of the greatest things about serving our community, which I am so honored and thankful for, is to serve on behalf of all of our students and families, because they truly are all of our children. Each and every 7,001 of them that are in our district, they're all of our children. And I hold that very dear and very close. The work of being a board member is not just showing up for meetings, but it's doing the hard work and active listening, creating groundwork, breaking down boundaries, creating relationships, not just with each other, but school leadership, staff, and the greater community. And that is so important and valuable so students can see themselves represented, and families, and those that are elected to office at all levels of government, including on the school board. As Board Member Bergen said, representation matters, visibility matters. It can change lives, and it can save lives. It has been my true greatest honor to be in service on the Board of Education these past 3 years, and I'm quite proud of the accomplishments that we have made to move our district forward, as mentioned by Board Member Bergen, and putting South Orange Maplewood on the map of being a place where other school districts on the county and state level can go to model policies that affirm inclusive environments that are welcoming for all students, and breaking down the barriers to ensure our students can thrive inside and outside the classroom. I do have one quote I wanted to bring up, because when I was a first-year teacher, I was had assigned a mentor teacher. And in that classroom, I learned so much from her, because Miss Nancy taught me that you can learn everything that is written in a textbook. You can do everything that you think is right. But the best thing you can do when trying to engage and learn from a child is to listen and ask where their needs are. And she had a quote on her classroom wall that I've always remembered. It's from Abraham Lincoln. Some of you may have heard this before, but I feel like it's a foundational point from when we talk about how our students are our greatest thing that we do in this district. Our students are our greatest export of our communities. And the quote is, "A child is a person who is going to carry on what you have started. He is going to sit where you are sitting, and when you are gone, attend to those things which you think are important. You may adopt all the policies you please, but how they are carried out depends on him. He will assume control of your cities, states, and nations. All your books are going to be judged, praised, or condemned by him. The fate of humanity is in his hands, so you might as well pay him some attention." Abraham Lincoln. And with that, I also want to say and acknowledge our student rep, Noah, as a student leader, so inspiring, and our previous student rep, Lily Foreman, who engaged with the Board of Education in ways that we have never seen before and truly inspire me and continue the work. And for the next Board of Education, I hope you will take on the torch and the mantle to continue creating welcoming, inclusive schools and spaces, uplifting the marginalized voices of students and families, and engaging with our amazing student leaders to help lift up their voices for better change in our community. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Board Member Wakefield has some comments for our next and last honoree.
Board Member Maney, or as many in the community know her as Miss Anne Marie, we thank you for your incredible service over the past 6 years. You have served as a board mentor for so many of us along the way, sharing your wisdom, historical context of our district, both on and off the board, and your passion for creating the conditions in every corner of our work to ensure that each and every child has the opportunity to thrive. Our community benefited from your leadership serving as president of the board from 2019 through 2020. A challenging and often thankless role you led with grace and determination, steering the board through the beginning of an unprecedented and uncharted global pandemic. Under your leadership, you led the effort to stabilize leadership at the very top and oversaw the successful hiring of our current superintendent. In partnership with the superintendent, you led our district's effort to design and implement the successful first phase of our intentional integration plan. Your focus on ensuring that every young person in our community has the opportunity to attend schools that reflect the broader community is reflective of your commitment to challenging and disrupting the status quo. When the district passed the important access and equity policy at the beginning of your board service, you kept consistent attention on its implementation and asked critical questions about the gap between the policy's intention and the resulting data. This focus ensured that we continue to ask key questions to uncover ways in which we needed to continue to address root causes of persistent academic segregation. Your fervent belief in the importance of high-quality adult development is a key lever to improving outcomes, and it's been pivotal in driving the growth across the district and lives in so many policies that you've helped drive during your time on the board. You always remind us that high levels of support must be coupled with high degrees of accountability. And that ensures that we remain focused on improving the conditions for learning and the outcomes for students. Your persistence and pursuit of a stronger, fairer, and more just school experience for our students is the legacy that you leave behind for us to carry on. On behalf of SOMSD Board of Education, we thank you for your service, for your advocacy, and for your leadership. And I personally thank you for your mentorship, your encouragement, and your challenge to stay focused on what's most important.
Preschool students don't know social distancing, so thank you for those kind words. Thank you, Chris, for saying yes 6 years ago when we decided to run together. Thank you, Board President Joshua, for moving us forward and trying to wrangle us during this very, very challenging time. I totally know what the toll is. So thank you again, and now we can get back to our meeting. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We'll now move on to our board recognitions, and I'll turn it over to Student Representative Noah Morris.
Thank you so much. We're going to start with the student recognitions. Congratulations to CHS freshmen and Keene scholars, Sharon Chen and Sherry Chen. They recently received awards from Keene. Sharon won the highest average in English, and Sherry won the highest average in mathematics. The South Orange and Maplewood School District announced its partnership with Keene University's Scholar Academy over the summer. The Scholar Academy is a dual enrollment initiative that helps prepare selected high school students for college by bringing them on campus to earn college credits and take part in mentorships, internships, and other college experiences starting in 9th grade. This partnership is the district's first time offering dual enrollment college-based programming to students. 11 middle school students from SOMSD were a part of the inaugural class, which Keene University announced in May. Sharon Chen and Sherry Chen are former Maplewood Middle School students who are now freshmen at CHS. As part of the inaugural cohort, they started the program in summer of 2021. They will be enrolled in the Keene Scholar Academy for all 4 years of high school. In 9th and the 10th grade, they'll take college courses in English, math, and prerequisite subjects with other academy students. In their last 2 years, they will take classes in their major alongside other Keene students. We want to commend CHS senior Leonard Jasper for being one of the 100 New Jersey students to have been named to the Governor's STEM Scholars Class of 2021 through 2022. Scholars were selected from a pool of more than 600 applicants and had to have at least a 3.5 GPA, being a high school sophomore through doctoral level New Jersey-based high school university, and demonstrate a passion for STEM. Leonard is only one of 8 students from Essex County. Scholars will participate in 4 conferences being held at New Jersey Institute of Technology, Rowan University, Stevens Institute of Technology, and Keene University. They will participate in a research project led by undergraduate and graduate level scholars that advances the work of New Jersey's research community and toward New Jersey STEM facilities and laboratories, and network with STEM professionals. CHS students were invited to participate in the Johnson & Johnson Technology Awareness Program. TAP is a partnership program between Johnson & Johnson, New Jersey Institute of Technology, and surrounding schools, where students gain real-life experience working with professionals while tending to their daily academic responsibilities. Students that took part in this program were Chimezi Agba, Lucas Alexander, Nicholas Gomez, Ava Katz, Nicholas Stinelli, Nicholas Alexander, Owen Friedman, and Michaela Ogentis. As part of the Technology Awareness Program, they were given a business problem to assess. Their team developed a well-thought-out business and technological solution and presented the solution to Johnson & Johnson executives. During the development process, the students demonstrated several skills such as brainstorming, negotiating, decision-making, problem-solving, and presenting. During the program, Johnson & Johnson professionals introduced students to weekly virtual interactive sessions on several topics for both information technology as well as research and development. The virtual program gave the students hands-on experience within the real corporate world. The students were recognized for their work at a banquet on December 1st on New Jersey Institute of Technology campus, where Johnson & Johnson's vice presidents recognized them individually for their work. On Saturday, December 10th, 30 members of the CHS Model UN Club participated in the Bronx Sciences 15th Model UN Conference. The conference was virtual, and the CHS team joined the conference from CHS. Students arrived early in the morning, where they participated in various committees throughout the day. Congratulations to the entire CHS Model UN Club for their efforts, as well as advisor Gregory Tuttle, CHS Social Studies teacher. A number of students also earned awards. Chloe Barter won an honorable mention representing India in the International Atomic Energy Agency Committee. Jem Wiener was awarded verbal commendation representing India on the Historical Security Council Committee. Charlotte McCourt was awarded Best Delegate in the Joint Crisis Committee, World War I, where she represented multiple historical figures throughout the conference. Maxon McKinstry was awarded verbal commendation in the Joint Crisis Committee, also World War I Central Powers. CHS Junior Robert Max Goldman has had his science research published. This past summer, Robert was one of less than 100 American students selected through a competitive application process for the Waxman Institute Summer Experience, which is sponsored by Rutgers University. Robert and these students learned about and contributed to an authentic research project in molecular biology that strongly emphasized bioinformatics. The research project focused on DNA sequence analysis of genes from the duckweed plant Landolita punctata. I did my best. And how these genes compared to those found in other plant species and organisms. According to his professor, Robert accomplished a great deal, and it was a privilege working with Robert Max Goldman from Columbia High School. We are so proud that his work is now published in their database as well. Now moving on to our staff recognitions. On December 1st, MMS Principal Dara Crocker-Granau was selected to co-facilitate a Columbia Teachers College reading and writing project live Twitter chat on the topic, helping school leaders lead with determination, focus, and above all, else joy, with Brooke Geller. TCRWP is a core element of our ELA curriculum in the school district. As a former English teacher, Granau is honored to be invited to this discussion. As a former English teacher, literacy leadership will always be close to her heart. Congratulations to Jennifer Latimer, Clinton Elementary Media Specialist, for being the recipient of this year's @NJASL Ruth Tour Outstanding Media Specialist Award. Clinton Elementary Principal Jennifer Connors and Assistant Superintendent CNI Dr. Matt Friedman were an assistance to support. Jennifer shared a presentation that showcased the district's Artist in Residence program with CodeJoy, where all elementary students were able to receive remote robotics and coding sessions via their school media specialists as part of the enhanced STEM programming plan for K-6 students in the 2021-22 school year. On Friday, October 22nd, Dr. Joyce Leslie celebrated her completion of her doctoral degree at a special in-person celebration for the classes of 2020 and 2021 that were canceled due to COVID-19. Her doctoral research was inspired by many wonderful students she has taught at CHS. She designed a workshop for algebra teachers and designed to introduce a new pedagogy and raise their expectations for their Black students. Her dissertation is investigating a model using video stories for professional development for algebra teachers of low SES minority students. Congratulations to Dr. Leslie. Congratulations to Takia Logan, special education teacher at CHS, on her self-published book, Idris and the Magic Lamp, which is currently available on Amazon. Idris and the Magic Lamp is a story about being special. Students sometimes see their uniqueness as a burden, opposed to being the blessing that it is. Having worked with students across age and grade levels, it was a pleasure to encourage them that they are a result of a combination of the miraculous and the wonderful, and they should always be proud of that. Ms. Logan wrote about Idris because she wants all students that have felt invisible to know that someone sees them. Ms. Logan is a classroom educator and is very passionate about students learning. Teaching students to read and to learn through books is one of the greatest privileges afforded to her throughout her career. She believes that kids learn well when they can see a little of themselves in the characters, setting, and plots of the stories that are shared with them. Finally, the Achieve Foundation is pleased to announce that thanks to the generosity of many donors and local business sponsors in the South Orange Maple community, this fall they are able to provide nearly $77,500 in grant funding for 35 project proposals that benefited 75 teachers and administrators and several hundreds of students across every K-12 school in the district. These grants range from visiting author and artist programs to STEM materials and include initiatives focused on the emotional health and wellness of our students. For a complete listing of the grants awarded, visit the achievefoundation.org website. Achieve is proud to support the work of district educators as it aligns with Achieve's mission to promote high-quality education that prepares our students for the future by addressing inequities, inspiring innovation, and fostering community. And that is the end of the recognitions for the month of December.
All right, thank you, Thank you, Student Representative Morris. I think we'll now move on to Dr. Taylor for the Superintendent's Monthly Update.
Your minutes already?
Oh, no, I didn't. Let's approve the minutes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the executive and regular session minutes for November 15th. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Siders. All in favor? All right, that appears to be unanimous. Mr. Burnside, thank you. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Taylor for the Superintendent's Monthly Update.
Good evening. Before we begin, I'd just like to again lend my congratulations to our outgoing board members. Even though you're abandoning me right now, I'm just joking, just joking. It's been such a pleasure to work with you. We've accomplished so much in a short period of time, and it was just thrilling to hear the recognition from your colleagues. Well deserved, and just thank you so much for your service. I also like to reiterate our previous board meeting comments, last board meeting, regarding where we are in the pandemic. We as a community must remain vigilant. The Delta and Omicron variants are causing our confirmed positive cases to grow exponentially. Our Health and Wellness Subcommittee, which includes our district lead nurse and our departments of health, meet and review cases and the applicable contact tracing daily, sometimes multiple times a day, including the weekends. We also discuss the latest guidance from the departments of health at the state level, our Department of Education at the state level, CDC, et cetera. This is all, again, very dynamic, and guidance shifts sometimes without warning. While we have been pleased that our mitigation strategies are preventing in-school spread, the community spread of COVID-19 has been rampant. As many of you know, families and staff members of South Orange Middle School were informed today that they will be shifting to virtual learning through winter break. We have been in contact with our county superintendent of schools, as well as our mayor and village president regarding this important topic. We are continuing to monitor and analyze the confirmed infection numbers daily to ensure we are doing all we can to keep our students and staff safe and healthy. Next, we will have a brief review of the enrollment of courses for our secondary classes. While the district has engaged annually in providing a class size report to our Board of Education to help us in determining the need to right-size class enrollments to comply with our board policy and best practices. As part of our settlement with the Black Parents Workshop, the following report on our secondary classes is an added layer of reporting and analysis. Dr. Perez.
I think you're muted. Okay, there we go.
I think Keith went back to help in her office there.
Thanks.
Dr. Perez is presenting from her office to broadcast for everyone at home. We'll just give a moment.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, as Dr. Taylor explained, I will be presenting the data on students enrolled in high-level AP Honors STEM by demographics. So the enrollment data for the BPW settlement states that by January 31st of each year, the district will prepare a written report of course enrollments by race and gender for all courses in grades 6 through 8 and 9-12 for each specific school, and to the extent permitted by federal and state student data privacy laws concerning data de-identification, will publicize the report on the district website and through social media. This obligation shall remain in effect for 3 school years following the expiration of the monitor's term or following the monitor's certification of compliance as set forth in paragraph 6, whichever comes first. Now, when looking at the first slide, this particular information is with regard to enrollment data over the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years, the percentage of students within the race, ethnicity, and gender categories remained relatively the same at both middle schools, but with notable differences when comparing race and ethnicity. The white student population appears to be approximately 20 to 25% higher than the Black student population and approximately 35% higher than students who make up the other category. Now, before proceeding to the upcoming slides, it is important to note that the categories for race, ethnicity, and gender are pulled directly from PowerSchool. In keeping with the student data privacy laws, if we were to disaggregate race, ethnicity, and gender categories further, the percentage of students who identify under a particular category is so small, it could potentially provide the identity of the students who identify as such. Now, looking at the enrollment data by grade for this particular school year, when we look at the graphs for both middle schools, which are located at the top of the screen, the enrollment numbers show that the white student population appears to be higher than the other race ethnicity categories. When reviewing the bottom graphs, gender appears to be the same across the grade levels between both middle schools, with there being more male students enrolled in 7th grade, and there approximately being 4 to 5% more females in 6th and 8th grade than in 7th grade at both schools. We will now be looking at middle school data, racial demographics across the content areas. The ELA data is reflective of the enrollment data in each school. With regard to math, the data shows that 43% of the Black students at MMS are enrolled in honors math and 31% are enrolled in honors math at SOMS. In the regular math courses at SOMS, the percentage difference between white and Black students is approximately 30%, but approximately 5% at MMS. For science, social studies, and social studies at both middle schools, the data presented here is reflective of the enrollment data in each school. And as in the previous slide, the same applies for art and music, where the data that's displayed is reflective of the enrollment data. With the exception of world language at SOMS, the data presented here is reflective of the enrollment data in each school. Now looking at the high school. The racial demographics across the content areas are as follows. With the exception of our regular education courses in math, science, ELA, and social studies, the data shows that there is a higher percentage of white students enrolled in honors and AP courses. Due to the higher number of Black students enrolled in the regular courses, it can then be inferred that this is why there is a low number of Black students enrolled in the honors and AP courses. With regard to our elective classes, there appears to be a high percentage of white students enrolled in the honors and advanced courses, especially in art and music. When looking at our media technology and world languages classes, there appears to be a significant number of white students enrolled in honors media technology, as well as in honors world language and AP world language. Now getting into middle school with regard to gender across the content areas. The ELA data presented here is reflective of the enrollment data at each school. At both middle schools, the data shows there are more male students taking advanced math courses, and there are slightly more females enrolled in honors math at SOMS than at MMS. For our science and social studies classes at both schools, the data presented here is reflective of the current school year's enrollment data for each school. And the same applies for our art and music courses. With the exception of world language at SOMS, the data presented here is reflective of the enrollment in each school. And now moving on to high school with regard to gender across the content areas. With the exception of AP Math, there appears to be more female students enrolled in honors and AP classes in ELA, science, math, and social studies. And then looking at our elective courses, with the exception of honors business and honors industrial arts, where males appear to be enrolled the most, there are more females enrolled in the honors and AP courses in music and in particular art. As far as our media technology and world language courses, there appear to be more females enrolled in media technology and world languages again at the honors and AP levels. And our last slide here in this presentation provides the data for Columbia High School for race and ethnicity across our grade levels, by gender across the grade levels, and over the last 2 years. So in looking at these particular graphs, over the last 2 years, the enrollment of white students appears to have dropped slightly and increased slightly for students who fall under the other race/ethnicity category. In terms of gender, they appear to have remained the same during the last 2 years. This concludes the presentation for our demographics with regard to our AP and STEM courses.
Thank you, Dr. Perez. And again, this report, the genesis of it, again, just for the record, is our Black Parents Workshop settlement, and also links to the statutory report that we do for our Board of Education every year on class sizes, and connects further to our district goals regarding the review of this data even deeper by the end of the school year, as connected to our intentional integration and work that we're doing on several fronts to alleviate the achievement gap that was represented by some of the data that was showed by Dr. Perez. To our board members, per our settlement, this will be posted on our website and also sent to you as well. We thought it was just very important, even though this is not due until January 31st. We wanted our sitting board members to leave with this information to reflect a lot of the work that we've been doing over the last several years. If there are any questions for Dr. Perez or follow-ups, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I certainly don't have questions about the data that was presented, as I think I would need to take additional time to process that. That was a lot of slides very, very quickly. And I understand that it's sort of at its essence is a compliance report, but I hope that in January we could do a deeper dive with some of this data for the benefit of the community, because I think it would be pretty challenging to derive many tall trees, you know, in the presentation that we were just given. I think a couple of things, I guess I want to sort of bring us back to one of the goals we have around the way that data is presented and creating a more rigorous and standardized approach to how we share data like this, in particular disparity data. For example, the CHS baseline demographics enrollment data was shared at the very, very end of the presentation, which means we weren't able to use that even in the quick glance as a foundation for understanding the disparities that were shared previous to that. You know, the goal that we adopted this fall was pretty clear about some of the criteria that we'd like to see as a board in each presentation. And while some of those things were present in this presentation, some were not. And I'd like to make sure that at our next board meeting, what's outlined in that goal is reflected in the data that we review.
So I think in reflecting on the work that we're doing in your goal action plans, it speaks to some of this work that we're talking about, specifically understanding that meeting this compliance piece is not the end of this work. So I agree 100%. I know that part of the work that we did last year, we started off similarly with what I would call the bare bones data, and then in the next 2 meetings we gave presentations around a deeper dive and year over year for several years for access and equity, and we'll be doing the same thing moving forward. Again, I definitely appreciate the reflection and the feedback, and we'll use that as we move forward.
Thank you. Board Member Wright.
Thank you, Dr. Perez, for your presentation. Appreciate it. But I'd like to just say that I don't think we changed very much in a year. Nothing seems to have changed. It seems to be just like it has been. But I would like to ask Dr. Friedman if we'll be providing honors world language at Maplewood Middle.
Yeah. Dr. Friedman, you can feel free to respond if you have that information. If you don't, we can place it in the Friday packet for the board. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, all right. Board Member Bergen.
I guess I wanted to ask the flip side of that question, which is, I thought a decision was made to only level math in the middle schools. So why do we even have an honors world language class at one middle school?
I have to dig and get that answer for you, for sure. And I know that in previous year's presentation, we found that some courses, though they were eliminated in Power School, they were still active. So this may be that situation, but we'll follow up and get that for sure.
Any other questions for Drs. Taylor and Perez on this? Okay, my just comment on this is just, I know it's too, we probably haven't had enough time to really dig and digest on what Dr. Fergus presented to the board in September, but I'm looking forward to hearing how his recommendations are going to be implemented to address some of the data points that we saw. So thank you.
I think you were in some of our meetings because in just trying to put together what was appropriate for this setting, for this, we had lots of thoughts around understanding the context of where we are now, how long to make our presentation, and pieces to add in that, like for example, the equal opportunity schools piece, right? We could have done a deep dive into that work and what's happened so far, but it's just sometimes the setting that we're in, we're picking the appropriate time for the appropriate conversations, and Dr. Fergus's piece was a part of that, thinking of carving out pieces from his previous presentation and linking it to the work, and that's some of our future next steps.
All right. Thank you. That concludes Dr. Taylor's report. We'll now move on to the board president's report.
I think you skipped Noah. I'm not sure.
No, it's usually
okay.
me now.
Gotcha. Sorry.
All right. No, do you want to go? You can go. Let's go. In case you have an exam or something tomorrow.
I'm here all meeting.
For fishing club meeting, I don't know.
Would you like, I can go now if you want me to, but.
Go ahead.
Sure?
And come back to me. Yeah, sure.
Okay. With 2021 coming to a close, I'm happy to deliver the last report of this roller coaster of a year. This month, Vanessa and I had the privilege of meeting with Dr. Taylor and Principal Sanchez of Columbia High School. With Dr. Taylor, we were able to discuss possible increased COVID measures to decrease complacency and transmission. Part of this included students now being included in new case and COVID trend emails. Alongside this were also the effects that students were facing from the current work to rule labor action, something that continues to impact student life on a daily basis. Once again, every student hopes that these negotiations will be completed soon to everyone's satisfaction and benefit. Additionally, something that Vanessa and I are excited about is something that came out of our discussion with Principal Sanchez of Columbia High School. He informed us that the school had purchased 4 period product dispensers for the girls and gender-neutral restrooms at Columbia. We both hope to work with middle and elementary school leadership to make this a reality across all of our schools. Seniors at Columbia High School are beginning to receive early decision and early action letters from colleges. Many students have been accepted into excellent universities and colleges, with many more decisions yet to come out. Clubs at Columbia High School have also been extremely busy. As I'm sure you heard in the recognitions, Columbia High School's Madi United Nations Club recently attended Bronx Science's 15th Madi UN conference. Students came into Columbia and attended the conference virtually while being able to work with fellow delegates in the school. Students even continued to participate through an evacuation that took place in the middle of the conference. As mentioned earlier in the recognitions, CHS took home 4 awards, and many students' papers got passed. Everyone was able to take part in productive debate. I would also like to thank Mr. Tuttle and Ms. Pierce for supplying us with breakfast and lunch and taking over 10 hours out of their Saturday to make this conference possible. The Students for Justice Club is also hosting a winter clothing drive until January 1st. You can drop donations at the front security desk at Columbia High School or on the porch of the Ethical Culture Society. In addition, the CHS Fishing Club is nearing the end of its Fill the Net campaign. They've collected over 800 cans of non-perishable goods and will still be accepting donations until this Wednesday, December 22nd. Donations can be dropped off at Mr. Nugent's room A301 in Columbia High School. The CHS Student Council has also been very busy this month. We recently hosted our annual volleyball tournament last Thursday, December 16th. The event was a huge success with over 25 teams participating, and in the end, the Men in Black came out with a tournament victory and Roman Gourmet gift card. We are also hosting our Holiday Spirit Week this week. The themes for each day can be found on the Instagram at CHS Official Stuco. I would also like to thank Mr. McCormick and Ms. Solomon for being at Columbia at 7 a.m. every Tuesday to advise the Student Council and bring donuts and coffee to wake us up throughout the year. CHS Junior Sophia Franklin is currently working with CHS teacher Mr. Bauer to launch a program providing volunteer music tutoring for young musicians in the district. They hope to inspire young musicians and show them what their future in our district's music program could look like, as well as allowing high schoolers to give back to the community in a positive way and share their talents with their peers. This is a program that I'm extremely excited about and cannot wait to see flourish in the coming months. Finally, I would like to thank board members Cuddle, Saban, and Maney for their support to our students and community, as well as welcoming me with opening arms to the board. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to Vanessa and me via our emails that can be found on the board members page of the South Orange Maplewood School District website. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. First, I'd like to provide an update on the district and Samea negotiations. But first, I want to acknowledge the contributions of our teachers this past year and a half through unimaginable circumstances. And I also want to acknowledge the letters from the community, as well as those who came in here tonight to advocate for pay increases for our teachers. At our last negotiations meeting, the board made a counter offer to the union's opening offer of a 6.1% raise. The Samea negotiator stated that our offer did deserve a counter proposal. However, no counter was made. Instead, the union returned with the same offer of 6.1%. The large gap between both parties, as well as a general unwillingness to counter our offer, is why we both agreed to go to mediation. Once the mediator was assigned, all three parties worked to find mutually agreeable dates where we can meet. We have a date set for early January, and we look forward to our mediation session. While I can't get into specifics on the salaries, it is worth noting that the Board of Education does not determine salary guides. They are reviewed and approved by the board after they are created by the union, who does so in conjunction with NJEA. I do want to reiterate once again that the board is ready to negotiate in good faith and looks forward to a resolution to this matter. I do want to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about 2021 and the board and what is accomplished this year. The South Orange Maplewood Board of Education introduced a resolution to adopt additional language for inclusion in NJSBA's Manual of Policies and Positions on Education. That new language supports local school boards and districts to make every effort to, quote, raise awareness, employ best practices, and create an inclusive, safe, and positive school climate for all students, including but not limited to those who are actual and perceived as being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, or other sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, unquote. The resolution was approved unanimously by all of the NJSBA Delegate Assembly. Closer to home, we created, revised, or abolished almost 40 policies, with another 10 coming up this evening. We passed a groundbreaking transgender and non-binary student policy that strengthened in many areas our commitment to ensure welcoming spaces, including LGBTQ+ students and trans and non-binary persons, families, and staff. The residential checks policy, along with the pilot program with CLEAR, removed some of the bias uncovered in reviews of which families are subject to residency checks. The resource materials policy strengthened our commitment to finding materials that support the educational goals of our district. These policies, along with all others, are easily searchable on our website thanks to our partnership with South Esme's online tool. We have taken steps to improve the climate and culture in our district by directing the administration to pause most school suspensions while digging into root causes. We created a task force to do a deep dive into the policies and practices related to sexual harassment. The task force has finalized its report, and the board will follow up on its recommendations next year. We also passed a resolution to rename the Jefferson Elementary School, and we will be updated on that process early in 2022. We have approved 5 major construction projects as part of the long-range facilities plan, with one more on tonight's agenda. We have begun building additional classroom space at 4 of our elementary schools. We recently issued the final tranche of a $160 million construction bond to fund these initiatives and have directed the district to produce construction plans for the secondary schools next year. We've approved new or revised curricula for over 40 courses and 10 new book adoptions. Curricula can all be found on Atlas, which is on the district website, and is our part of a partnership to get all curricula available on the website for easily use for parents. The district is also wrapping up work on a Portrait of a Graduate initiative. And a special thank you to Dr. Taylor and his administration for getting the Aristod curriculum approved. And this is just one step in our continuing journey to provide a robust curricula that reflects our student body. The intentional integration initiative launched in this for the 2021-2022 school year for kindergarten classes has resulted in a more socioeconomically diverse kindergarten class, has greatly reduced the disparity in free reduced lunch students from school to school, and is squarely in line with our district's and board's goal of making every school look like a broader reflection of the district. And lastly, I want to thank my colleagues for allowing me the privilege to serve as president, apparently the first Black male ever to do so in this district. January 6th was not the appropriate time to reflect on that fact, but I do recognize it might mean something to someone watching this evening. I look forward to serving again in 2022 and continue to expand on the accomplishments previously listed. Thank you. Okay, we are now, since we did our first public speaks already, we are now at the discussion for committee reports. So we will start virtually with Board Member Wright first, and then we'll come back to the DMR and go to Board Members Bergen and then Manny. Board Member Wright, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Okay, I found it. I was a little lost right there. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
The Finance and Facilities Committee met, and we had several things on the agenda. We were very busy. We talked about the lunch debt, which was brought out by Board McCuddle in terms of defraying the costs or getting rid of the cost for students for lunch, to have free lunch. There was also a lunch monitor bid. We talked about the snow removal bid, with trucks and things. We remember we had such a horrible time during the storm. The Underhill field, the Underhill bid, it was a resolution award winning the bid for the Underhill Sports Complex. So they're going to begin construction for that. We'll talk about it during the December board meeting. The bond sale update, talked about asbestos at Tuscan and Seth Boyden, the bid award, the resolution for the removal of that. We also talked about the supervisor of buildings and grounds. The job description was discussed. We talked about teacher salaries. The committee discussed the possibility of discussing the status of negotiations and teacher salaries in public. It's just a discussion. Accounting, we talked about the outsource expenses that we have, the legal expenses and counseling expenses. Still waiting for the full report on those. And hang on. talked about the health and safety of district buildings, with mold being a particular concern at several schools. But in terms of the leaks and things that we have discovered, we should begin the remediation, or at least the testing, to be sure that our children are sitting in a safe environment, especially with COVID. We had talked about the WebEx technology used for board meetings. President Joshua wants to be sure that the technology department, that all new and current board members will have working technology for meetings. We also talked about, as you know, the FFT open meetings, and that concluded our business. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Board Member Mousemina has a hand up.
Board Member Wright, can you explain if we got a report? We had asked for a report on what condition mold in the buildings, and were we given that report? What is going on with that? I know that that was something that we were, as a board, looking to get more information about. Can you elaborate, please?
We've just hired our new facilities director, who should be looking into getting the buildings tested for mold. If I'm correct, Mr. Burnside, if you want to chime in, we're still waiting for that to happen.
I think Dr. Taylor's going to jump in.
Hello, everyone. I know we are limited from what we can discuss in executive session and in the public, but just want to remind the board members that the agreed upon deadline to receive an update on our facility review is December 31st, but you will have it before we go into winter break. And it's a breakdown of the entire school using the agreed upon methodology.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Board Member Wright? All right. Thank you. Oh, Board Member Mousemina, your hand is still up, but I presume that's from the question you just asked.
Sorry, still up.
No
from
problem. I just want, in case it goes up again, I don't want to miss it. All right, we'll now go to Board Member Bergen on policy.
Thank you. The policy committee met on December 13th for about 2 hours, and we have a full plate of policies this month. We've been very busy. For second read, we have 9 policies that we're voting on tonight. The first is 1540.1, Supervisory Employee Relationships. This policy strongly discourages relationships between supervisors and their subordinates. The supervisor in a personal relationship with a subordinate must report the relationship to Human Resources. The district will make a determination whether anyone needs to be transferred, and if one person needs to be transferred, the policy sets the default to be the supervisor. Since last month, we clarified that the obligation to report a relationship is on the supervisor, but that the subordinate may also make that report. 2417, Student Intervention and Referral Services. The goal of this policy is to develop a coherent approach to INRS across the district that includes regular evaluation of its effectiveness. The policy will also require the district to develop regulations to implement the policy, which don't currently exist with the current policy. 2467, Surrogate Parents and Resource Family Parents. The policy addresses a situation of a student who does not have an adult to make educational decisions or be their advocate regarding school, so the district can appoint a surrogate parent to fill that role. 3283 and 4283 address electronic communications between staff and students, and they were in need of an update given the evolving methods of communication that we have now. 5111, eligibility of resident, non-resident students. It's back to include recent Strauss-Esme updates. The revision addresses the state assuming fiscal responsibility for the tuition of a student whose residency is uncertain. We're also taking the opportunity to add language from the October resolution regarding online residency checks counting as residency checks under the policy. 5460.2, Bridge Year Pilot Program. The policy allows students graduating in 21 or 22 to do another year of high school while taking some classes at the county college. 7450, Property Inventory. This policy requires an inventory of certain district equipment worth over $2,000. Since last month, this policy was revised to add an inventory of electronic devices regardless of their value. 8467 weapons. We're revising this policy to reflect Strauss-Esme updates and to be explicit that weapons are not allowed on school grounds by adults or students except those currently working as law enforcement. We also clarified that toy weapons that are not realistic looking are not covered by the policy and added a reference to the code of conduct as we aim to have policies cross-reference related policies and district documents. The other changes to this policy came from Strauss-Esme, and we asked Ms. Butler to review it to ensure our changes to the Strauss-Esme version comply with state law. Since last month, we also added a provision that the superintendent will inform the board of any weapon found on school property. 2421 career and vocational education, we had a first read last month, and we're going to hold it this month and not vote on it to give the district an opportunity to address some comments from board members. And we have a whopping 13 policies for first read tonight. 2415.04, Title I district-wide parental involvement addresses parental involvement requirements for the Title I program. 2415.20, Every Student Succeeds Act complaints. The policy addresses how to handle allegations of violations of the Every Student Succeeds Act. 2480, alternative education programs. This policy would permit but not require the district to create an alternative education program. It's not a mandatory policy, so we can discuss whether it's something we would want to move to a second read. We have several personnel policies that had minor revisions from Strauss-Esme. 3221, evaluations of teachers. 3222, evaluation of teaching staff members excluding teachers and administrators. 3223, evaluation of administrators excluding principals, vice principals, and assistant principals. 3224, evaluation of principals, vice principals, and assistant principals. 3142, non-renewal of non-tenured teaching staff member, and 4146, non-renewal of non-tenured support staff member. We added a provision to the relevant personnel policies about the superintendent establishing a process to update the board via personnel committee regarding the progress of evaluations. 5116, education of homeless students, is being updated to add an annual reporting requirement to the Department of Community Affairs. And we have 3 policies that were required as part of the Perkins audit that have now been developed by Strauss-Esme. 6115.01, federal awards, funds, and internal controls, allowability of costs. 6115.02, federal awards, funds, and internal controls, mandatory disclosures. And 6115.03, same controls, conflicts of interest. We had a first read last month of 4219, commercial driver's license and controlled substance and alcohol use. This is going to be held so that the personnel committee can address one outstanding comment. And we also discussed extensively 9130, public complaints and grievances, which should be coming for first read in the coming months. It will address how parents and students can submit either general complaints or complaints about books and resource materials, as well as the process for the district to address those complaints. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Board Member Bergen? Board Member Cuttle?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the very robust amount of policies for first and second read. I don't have a question. I just wanted to give a comment, if I may, that, that's give a hand, please, to tip the hat to Chair Bergen and former policy chair Siders, who during my tenure on the board, we didn't have a policy committee. And first year on the board, really advocated for a policy committee with other colleagues at the time. And our board made a commitment to create the policy committee. And it was shepherded under board member Siders and now under Chair Bergen. And this is leaps and bounds from where we were before, and I just want to commend everybody that's been on the policy committee, chaired it, and as all the colleagues who've helped move all these important policies along that really benefit our district and our community. And again, I've had outreach on the county and the state level from other school districts who have heard or read or seen about these important model policies that we are creating and adopting and updating and looking to them for insight. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments for Board Member Bergen or questions? All right, we will now go to Personnel and Board Member Manny.
So this month in Personnel Committee, we met and we reviewed the agenda items that are up for discussion and vote this evening. We were also joined by the new Director of Facilities to discuss the revised job description that Board Member Wright indicated in her report for the Supervisor of Buildings and Grounds. This job description has been updated to include many of the certifications that would benefit our school district, including HVAC systems and software controls. This will be relevant experience and knowledge as we upgrade our systems through the construction project. And in addition, there was discussion about modifying the working hours to reflect time needed to supervise work when children are not in the building. The superintendent also suggested that they are exploring hiring of a consultant to support the missing special services supervisors, so to stay on track for evaluations and teacher supports. We also discussed the status of the residency and registration process. Administration has moved forward on the training necessary to implement the CLEAR program. And finally, we discussed an article in Education Week that offered suggested interview questions that would help districts check for bias. And administration is going to incorporate that work into that interview process. And that was all that we did.
Thank you. Any questions for Personnel, Chair Manny? All right, that concludes our committee's report. We're now at the time for action. So at the recommendation of Dr. Taylor, I'd like to make the following motion to move resolutions 4226 through 4237. Dr. Taylor, was there anything you wanted to clarify on those?
Yes, good evening again, board members. We were informed of the passing of a recent employee, and we added this person to our memorial, section 4226A. You'll see it in your attachments. Felt like it wouldn't be right if we didn't do that with the ability to do so. So I would first ask for just a brief moment of silence to acknowledge Arlene Knight. Thank you. And adding that memorial pushed down your agenda in personnel by one letter, and it will show up shortly in your table of contents. So acknowledging that additional section, I'd like to just pull from the board's consideration this evening so that I can make sure that we are ready to move forward with this important position under 426C. I'll be pulling the fourth name on that list from this evening's consideration for more research and review.
Okay, so at Dr. Taylor's recommendations, I will make the motion to move 4226 through 4237. Have a second? All in favor? Thank you, Board Member Saban. That appears to be unanimous, Mr. Burnside. We are now at the discussion portion for items 4226 through 4237. Board Member Cuddle.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, President Joshua. Forgive me, I can't read my own handwriting right now. I think 426A?
What is this? 4226A?
Resolution for the food funding.
That is 4229F.
4229. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. 4229F. This wanted to open discussion just to raise awareness about this resolution tonight. The board is considering that through the board for consideration that would, the district would then be zeroing out, eliminating all of the current lunch debt in the district that students and families had acquired up to this point and previous to the pandemic hitting us, and also previous to us moving towards universal free lunch for all students and families. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of our students and families who have faced so many challenges during the pandemic and beforehand to have go into 2022 with zero lunch debt, zero student debt, and our ongoing commitment to ensure true equity in our district. So I just want to thank Mr. Burnside and Dr. Taylor for their support of this resolution and ensuring that all of our students and families have equal access to nutritious lunch and meals and opportunities, and commitment being a leader as a district to show other boards of education, other communities, how to support lunch debt and the crisis facing our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Cuddle. Ms. Butler, I just realized I was looking at an antiquated version of the agenda we are only up to 4236. So do I need to pull that resolution because I said 4237? All right. I'd like to rescind the motion to move to discussion for 4226 through 4237. Can I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Cuddle. All in favor? All right. That appears to be unanimous. And then at the recommendation of Dr. Taylor, move forward 4226 through 4236 for discussion. May I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Sabin. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Mr. Burnside.
Acknowledging the resolution that was pulled.
Yes, with the same recognition, acknowledgements for resolution that was pulled before. Again, at Dr. Taylor's recommendation. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's continue the discussion. Board Member Malaspina.
I would like to sever 4426, which I think is the personnel one. Am I right on that number?
All right, I will, when we close discussion, I'll call. Can a board member, sorry, you do not want to be on the board. Ms. Butler, can I close discussion when we're ready and then just call the roll for 4226 separately? No, I have to.
I'm just trying to figure out where we are.
We are in discussion. Board Member Malaspina wanted to make a motion to sever 4226. I'm asking if we can close discussion when we're ready and then just call that one first separately before we move forward with the rest. Okay, thank you. Is that good enough for you, Board Member Malaspina?
That's perfect.
All right, sounds good. Any other discussion, questions on the action on resolutions 4226 through 4236? Seeing none, I'll close discussion. Mr. Burnside, can you please call the roll? We'll start with just 4226.
Board Member Bergen?
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle?
Yes.
Board President Joshua?
Yes.
Board Member Manning?
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina?
No.
Board Member Sabin?
Yes.
Board Member Siders?
Yes.
Board Member Wingfield?
Yes.
Board Member Wright?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to, Mr. Burnside, can you now please call the roll on 4227? Oh, wait, so before we do that, I just want to clarify, Ms. Butler, we had in 4223, there was a particular case that was going to be with respect, yep. Do I need to mention that, or?
Wait a minute.
4223.
No, 4233.
I'm sorry, 4233, you are correct. New contacts in 2022.
One of the items was agreed that it would be pulled for the board's approval tonight.
Okay, so do I need to note that here, or was what you just said enough to note it?
It's fine. You could just say it when you're moving it, or you've moved it, just say that it will be, it's the entire report except for the one that was determined by the board that it would not be
Okay.
included in the report tonight. Because
All
of the
right.
poll.
All right, so for the roll on, to call, Mr. Burnside, I'd like for you to call the roll on 4227 through 4236 with the acknowledgement that there was a modification made to the report that is part of the resolution for 4233.
Board Member Wright,
Yes.
Board Member Wingfield,
Yes.
Board Member Siders,
Yes.
Board Member Saban,
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina,
Yes.
Board Member Manning,
Yes.
Board President Joshua,
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle,
Yes.
Board Member Bergen.
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you.
And there's a hand carry.
Yes, so I can do that now. All right, can you?
I know. I had plans. I was going to see Mom. Yeah. Too much. Yeah. Yes. This is 4236.
Just time. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to read the follow resolution into the record. This is, oops, that's probably a bad idea. They can't see me. Resolution 4237, affirm HIB appeal. Whereas on December 22nd, 2021, an HIB appeal hearing was held by a committee of the board involving a harassment, intimidation, bullying matter, HIB report. I have to read the number?
Yes.
HIB report 223122 _ SME _ 10072021. Whereas at the meeting, the board heard from the anti-bullying specialist, the principal, and the parent who filed the appeal on behalf of their child. And whereas the committee carefully considered the relevant information, and whereas the committee has made a recommendation to the full board during the executive portion of its December 20th, 2021 board meeting, and the board has carefully considered the matter and the recommendation of the committee. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby affirms the determination that the incident did constitute HIB within the meaning of New Jersey statute and the board's policy of harassment, intimidation, bullying as to student 595-730-3090. And be it further resolved that the administration take appropriate supportive, restorative, remedial or punitive action, and be it further resolved that the board secretary is further directed to notify all individuals affected by this decision of the board's determination. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Manning. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any discussion on 4237? Board Member Malaspina, that, I presume that's an earlier hand, because I see
Oh,
you
yes,
nodding
it is.
no.
Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Okay, seeing none, now you're waving, hi.
I'm trying to lower it.
Okay, no problem. Okay, seeing none, I'd like to close discussion. Mr. Burnside, can you please call the roll on 4237?
Board Member Bergen,
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle,
Yes.
Board President Joshua,
Yes.
Board Member Manning,
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina,
Yes.
Board Member Saban,
Yes.
Board Member Siders,
Yes.
Board Member Wingfield,
Yes.
Board Member Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. That concludes the action portion of the meeting. We'll now move on to our second public speaks. So I will continue reading. Mr. Bonds, I'm going to go back to the call sheet to see if any of our participants are still there. As a reminder, you all have 2 minutes. So let's, I think we do need to start with in-person first. Apologies for that. All right, wait, let me read the thing again, just for the record. Apologies for that. Okay, we're now at the time for public speaks. This is an opportunity for you to share concerns about an item. Well, you can share concerns, but it's not the time for dialogue with the board. Board requests you state your name and town of your residence for the record. We'll set the time to 2 minutes for each speaker and ask that you respect that time limit. Must cut you off so it does not appear as if we are giving anyone an advantage to share their views over another individual. Speakers have the full protection of free speech during public speaks. However, this forum does not protect you from the subject of your free speech pursuing libel and/or slander charges. And finally, the board does recommend that all members of our community pursue the chain of command. Our first in-person public speaks for the second session is Staci Gregg. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I'll turn it off for you. Nope. I don't see the. It was there. Hold on. Nope. There's a button. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Staci Gregg, and it is Rockaway. It's Gregg, not Craig. Thank you for addressing the teacher's contract, that you're not allowed to say anything, but at least addressing the teachers and being respectful, because I felt like they left and not one board member had anything to say before they left about them being here. I hope there's no retribution regarding any teachers, because that's been known to happen in other places for anyone who was bold enough to speak up on behalf of their union and their members. These are good employees, loyal, multi-degreed, but as you could tell from the people that got up, and you had a report tonight regarding the male to female ratio of students and the black to white part of students, but I'd like to see you have a report on the sex of the teaching staff, as well as the other staff and administration. What is the ratio of the sex of male to female? We fought very hard for equal pay. We're still not there yet. I think we're 78 cents on the dollar for women, and in education, it seems even less on the dollar. The percentage we heard tonight, I forget if it was 12% or 15%. I know it's out of your hands, but it is disgraceful. You're known for being a progressive town. Whenever there's ever a story done, out of the city, they always show Maplewood. So why would you not want to lead the nation, or at least New Jersey, or at least your county, in paying the women what they are worth? Your children are worth it. Our future of our country is worth it. Lead the nation, lead the country, lead your county. Don't be second to Essex students with paying the teachers. They deserved it. Paying attention to the children and their civil rights is also important. I'd like to hear something regarding the parents' grievance regarding the child who had the hijab taken off. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next in-person public speaks is from Cassandra Little.
Good evening.
Good evening. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Kason Little with BLM New Jersey. When I heard about this situation the first time, just to let everybody know, I'm a proud great nephew of Malcolm X, Malcolm Little, better known. And I thought about his quote, chickens coming home to roost. And that only reminded me about the hatred that's rooted deeply in the grounds of this country. That if we're failing to act, if we're failing to do the just thing to protect and remedy this type of issues and these type of situations moving forward, it will continue to happen because you're allowing it to happen. By not being proactive, but being reactive, and not even assuring the community that this won't happen again because, first of all, it won't be tolerated here. They want that assurance first. They want that type of clearance that this is a hate-free and injustice-free zone in this community, in this school district. That's what they hope to get from you. Not only leadership, but morals, ethics, values, and justice and accountability that cannot afford to happen again. That caused a high level of trauma that I don't think most of you understand. A high level of trauma and self-doubt that she can walk boldly, proudly, and beautifully with her hijab on and not be judged and not be treated any less than anybody else in that classroom. Act as if that was your own, because that is your own. That's who you are here to serve. Her and every other beautiful Black girl. And remind them of that.
Thank you. All right, we'll now move to our audio public speaks. Ms. Vaz, we'll start again with Colin Malone. No? All right, we'll move on to Nicole Josie.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Nicole. How are you? You have 2 minutes.
Okay. My name is Nicole Josie. I am a parent in Soma. I have served on the PTA for many years, also CPAC and many other boards. I am a big advocate and has been a big advocate for this district for many, many years, especially the special education program. This year was the first year that I was very, very, very disappointed. My son is a student in the Clinton ABA K-2 class at Clinton. This class has 5 students. They are on the spectrum. The class has been forgotten. They are not receiving the supports they're supposed to be receiving. They don't have a BCBA. The teacher is now resigning. And if you've ever had a kid that's on a spectrum, change is a big thing. And it is very disruptive to their education. I've seen on your agenda that you have hired or are planning to hire another teacher for this class. And I'm grateful for that. But we have been so disappointed with the lack of support that the class has had. There is not enough paras. The paras that they do have in the class are not trained and handled with care. The teacher was advocating for one-on-one paras and nothing happened until a student got hurt in the class and was badly injured, something that could have been prevented had they been provided the support. This is the first time that I have been disappointed in this district and what they have done for special education services, especially with this class. It's like the class has just been forgotten. No support. They've been denied everything they've been asked. Now, once a kid got hurt, everyone's listening. So I just urge this district and this board to please don't forget special education students. They're just as important as everyone else.
Thank you. Our next audio public speaks is from Sophia Levy. Okay, our next our next audio public speaks is from, let's see if William Wheeler is back. We know we had trouble the first time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
All right. Good evening. My name is William Wheeler. I live in Maplewood, and I'm a ninth grade student at Columbia High School. With the recent reports of rising COVID-19 cases within our district, many, including myself, have developing concerns over whether in-person learning shall remain or whether we shall engage in virtual learning for an indefinite period of time. Especially with the coming winter holiday break, it is probable the number of cases may only increase, and as a result of that, many of my peers, myself included, have been having concerns over the reintroduction of virtual learning as a whole within our current year. Given the impact of virtual instruction in the past upon both students and faculty socially, mentally, and academically, many of us have like reservations on its implementation as a whole. With I would say some of us even having like those effects still remaining to this day from virtual learning. We recognize the benefit virtual learning has on halting the spread of COVID-19 among students and staff, and we humbly request, in consideration of both the benefits that virtual learning has, as well as the social and mental, how would you put it, drawbacks, that when determining whether there's a possibility of the implementation of virtual learning, that they're considered. And yeah, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Our next audio public speaks is from Alex Patron. No. Okay. Our next audio public speaks is from John Jeffries.
No.
Okay. Our next audio public speaks is from Pete Paschal.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 2 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm Pete Paschal. I'm a resident of Maplewood and a father of 2 students in the district. And tonight I have the privilege to speak not just for myself, but for the 800 plus members of SOMA for a safe return to school. On behalf of the group, I'm here to ask the district to implement a test to stay policy for unvaccinated students who have been exposed to COVID-19 at school or within the community. For those that don't know, Test to Stay is a policy that would allow exposed students to stay in school as long as they have no symptoms and perform testing in the week after exposure. Test to Stay has recently been endorsed by the CDC as an effective way to minimize the disruption that quarantines cause to students and families. It recommends students stay in school as long as they test negative for COVID at least twice in the 7 days after exposure. The goal, of course, is to isolate and quarantine only the students that need to. That is, those infected with COVID, allowing healthy children to continue learning in the best environment, the classroom. With cases on the rise in the Northeast, there is certainly an increased risk of many more school days being lost due to close contacts. A major study on quarantines confirmed something we all know, that the vast majority of students who quarantine, as much as 98%, are uninfected. Yes, vaccines have recently become available to most school children, but it will take time for vaccination rates among kids to rise. In other words, a test to stay policy is needed now more than ever. Quarantines due to close contacts continue to disrupt in-person learning for many, including teachers, as they have to accommodate virtual instruction for exposed students, who, again, are almost always not infected. Test to Stay would eliminate the need for the currently mandated 14-day quarantines, both for children who are not yet fully vaccinated and those children who have opted not to receive a vaccine. Since the beginning of the school year, Test to Stay is becoming more popular in schools across the country. After the policy first got widespread attention in September, districts in Kentucky, Rhode Island, Illinois, Utah, Kansas, California, Massachusetts, and more have all adopted versions of it. And on December 17th, the CDC officially endorsed test to stay. That's why at this time, SOMA for a safe return to school urges you to implement a test to stay policy. It aligns with the goals of both our district
Thank you.
and our group of more than 800 members to keep kids
Thank
in
you.
school while
Time is
also
up.
keeping them safe.
Thank you. Our next public speaks is from Kelly Picola.
Can you hear me?
You speak a little louder, please, Kelly?
Oh, geez. Of course.
Try again, Kelly.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Hold on one second. I'm having some headphone issues. I would like to start off by thanking the outgoing board members for their service to the board and our district. I've had the pleasure of getting to know board members Cuddle and Maney and appreciate their dedication to this board and to the community. I would like to urge the BOE to consider implementing a test to stay policy for unvaccinated students who have been exposed to COVID at school or within the community. On December 17th, the CDC endorsed a test to stay policy to balance keeping kids safe and keeping them in school. The policy would eliminate the need for a 14-day quarantine for children who are not yet fully vaccinated and those children who are not eligible or those who've opted not to receive a vaccine. Secondly, I'm asking the board not to approve Dr. Dino as a new district security director. Dr. Dino's own LinkedIn profile says he's a, quote, police training coordinator with experience as a, quote, pistol, rifle, and shotgun instructor. Even in the wake of the latest TikTok challenge, this district does not need more guns to protect its students, staff, and teachers. The district understands this, and its own job description seeks a security director that has knowledge of restorative justice practices, understands implicit bias, and has experience working with special needs population. The current candidate does not meet these requirements. Lastly, I'm asking you to enter into good faith contract negotiations with teachers to come to a resolution. The notion that this board may approve Dr. Dino with a salary of approximately $100,000, while the median teacher salary in this district is merely $75,000, and many teachers make much less than the median salary, clearly shows the district's priorities, where the district's priorities lie. To be fair, I have been critical of the teachers' union. However, I support paying teachers a living wage so that we can attract and retain the best possible teachers for our students. Thank you for your time and happy holidays.
Thank you. Our next audio public speaks is from Reshma Ketkar. Okay, and that concludes our audio public speaks. I will now turn it over to First Vice President, Board Member Shannon Cuddle to go through the written public speaks.
Mr. Bonds, I'm seeing there are 19 written comments. Is that what you're still seeing?
That number increased to 21. I just sent you another file.
Okay, hold on. Let me up. I am refreshing. Thank you. Or am I all prepared? Okay. Hold on. All right, so you're watching the time?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay, our first written public speaks is from Melanie Finneran. From. Oh. Thank you, Mr. Bonds. I guess my short arms. All right, starting again. Written public speaks, appears that we have 21 this evening, and the written public speaks, the first person speaking, the first written public speaks is Melanie Finneran from Maplewood. In watching these meetings, I see a great amount of incivility. I wonder how we can have a functioning district with so much instability on the BOE. It's terrible for the district, and it's an awful example for our children. Again, that is Melanie Finneran from Maplewood. The next written public speaks is from Abigail Maury of Maplewood. Dear Dr. Taylor and the Board of Ed, I wanted to write to let you know how instrumental the paraprofessionals have been to our daughter's success in school. Our daughter, who is on the autism spectrum, has always been in inclusion classrooms with a one-on-one para. We have been incredibly lucky to have had such wonderful paras who help gently guide our daughter, help her transition from one subject to the next, ensure that she is focusing on the given task along with so much more. The children who require a paraprofessional in their lives are the very kids who would sleep between the cracks without one. The parent-student relationship is paramount to the child's success in any given school year, and our experience with the paras in Samea School District has been wonderful. Our daughter is set to graduate Tuscan Elementary this year, thriving and prepared for middle school, not only benefiting from the wonderful teaching from so many hardworking and underpaid teachers, but in large part to the exceptional paraprofessionals who have cared for her and prioritized her success in her goals as our own. It is outrageous that after the incredibly difficult few years we have had, including but not up into school over Google Meets, a pandemic which made their jobs much harder due to social distancing and masking, that the paraprofessionals are not getting their due and fair raises and do not have a solid contract moving forward. It's disrespectful and demeaning to people who are indispensable to a community of children who need the most help. I urge you to acknowledge and value our paraprofessionals we have in the district. They deserve and require a living wage and then some. Again, that was Abigail Maury from Maplewood. The next public speaks written is from C. Goldstein of Maplewood. Good evening, members of the BOE. I would like to address an incident that transpired at the conclusion of the November BOE meeting between Board President Joshua and Board members Malspina and Wright. I was quite taken aback with the aggressive nature of Mr. Joshua towards Ms. Malspina and Ms. Wright. Will you, Board President Joshua, be offering a public apology to Ms. Malspina and Ms. Wright? How can the public take the BOE seriously when the leadership of the board acts in this manner? We preach to our children to respect each other and not participate in bullying and intimidation. Similarly, I was disappointed that other members who were present seemed to sit in silence and did not intervene. Did we even elect a member who prides themselves as a bullying expert? In conclusion, the public should be a witness to an apology and possible sensitivity training for this active behavior between members of the elected BOE. And again, that was C. Goldstein. The next written public speaks is Matthew Gamage. Apologies if I got that wrong. Township of Maplewood. My name is Matthew Gamage, rhymes with damage. I live in Maplewood, and I'm a former teacher at Clinton Elementary School. I had a dream job teaching at the school my son attended and working with exceptional teachers and students at Clinton. However, during the fall of 2020, my feelings about school and district administration began to sour. Last December, during a peak of stress caused by the district's self-inflicted wounds, I resolved to give myself the gift of hope and planned to look for a different teaching job in the spring. When March 2021 came up and things had only gotten worse, I chose to look for a new teaching job, found one, and finally left the school district at the end of the school year with a heavy heart. To be clear, I left due to the high-level unnecessary stress caused by the dysfunctional relationship between the school district and its teachers, as well as a lack of trust I had in my immediate supervisor. That said, I was pleasantly surprised to find out when I accepted my new job offer, it came with a 16% salary increase because the current subpar SOMSD contract pay scale. The administration and the board cannot expect the teachers of SOMSD, who are the only thing that makes school life tolerable at all for all of their students of this district, to keep eating garbage and expect them to do more. I expressed in how many of you would do the job and ask teachers for the same salary that you would have asked them to accept. It would have to come back to the table. Words and thanks, praise are hollow if you refuse to bargain a fair contract. Again, that was Matthew Gamage of Maplewood. The next written public speaks is Christopher Traska of Maplewood. Chairman Joshua and members of the board, events of the past several months have led me to write you this evening the culmination of ongoing pattern of deep administrative dysfunction carried out in public and private, seemingly with little regard at times for each other. Those of you who have been elected to serve in the very basic tenets of professionalism and sound governance, you appear to have forgotten with neither convenient or challenged. Henry Robert must be rolling over as we speak. In short, as elected leaders of the community, it is well past time that you collectively begin exposing the qualities inherent in the role. Your silence, disunion, and capacity are telling and benefit very few beyond any complacent individuals oddly content with a flawed status quo. Most assured not including those students you purport to serve. Please do better, if only for the benefit. As for the current contractual quagmire the BOE has stumbled onto, now surely isn't the time to tighten your belts. You have proven yourself desperately able and willing to fund those initiatives you specifically want, yet seem to have fallen well short when it comes to funding those entrusted with the education and care of our children, along with the needed improvement of academic outcomes they deserve. Not only is this a terrible look, it will assuredly have consequences. Once again, please do better, not just because our kids deserve it, because our teachers do as well. Thank you. Again, that was Christopher Traska. The next written public speaks is from Rita Doeffler in Maplewood. My child attends Clinton Elementary and is in quarantine due to 2 known cases in his class. All 4 of the 4th grade classes are in quarantine, along with 2 5th grade classes, 2 2nd grade classes, and more on the way due to waiting for PCR testing. Families are receiving back-to-back emails about positive classroom cases. With the newest variant being highly contagious, the rules in place need to be revisited. Indoor lunches are a huge issue. We need to give families virtual options until things can calm down. The numbers will only worsen after the holidays, and I do not feel comfortable sending my child back at school at this point. Again, that was Rita Doeffler. The next written public speaks is from John Sullivan, Maplewood. I would like to take this time to thank board member Shannon Cuttle and the entire BOE members that our terms have come to an end for their service to our community. They have done their best under the most difficult situations. I highlight board member Cuttle because of their tireless work, not only at the local level, but the county, state, and national level, and being a voice for those who do not traditionally have a seat at the table where decisions are made. Board member Cuttle has promoted equity and is a role model for many. Thank you for your service. That was John T. Sullivan of Maplewood. The next written public speaks for first pass is Kay Puthron.
Putharoon.
Puthron, thank you. From South Orange, my apologies. Dear Dr. Taylor and board members, I'm the parent of 2 children at SMSD. I'm gravely concerned about the significant wage gaps between our district teacher salaries versus neighboring school districts and the breakdown in contract negotiations between Samea and the district. These teachers give their all to our children and deserve to earn a fair, livable wage with financial incentives to stay in district. I urge the district to negotiate with Samea in good faith and to pay our hardworking teachers competitively with other neighboring districts. The board's proposed salary increase is far below the Essex County average of 3.3% and is also far below the national inflation rate. Having our educators work without a contract is unacceptable. Our children need high-quality educators now more than ever, given all the challenges the pandemic has brought. Investment in educator salaries is investment in our children's future. Again, that was Kay Puthron. Did I say that right? Okay.
Putharoon.
Putharoon. Thank you. Apologies again. Thank you, President Joshua. The next written public speaks is Jocelyn Ryan of South Orange. Members of the board and Dr. Taylor, I'm writing to point out the incongruities between the job description you posted for the school and community safety director and the applicant you have brought forward for consideration. In your description, you list as minimum requirements 5 years experience working with children in a leadership role, and experience working with a special needs population in a school setting, and an understanding of emotional and behavior disorders and other disabilities. I recognize the urgency to need to fill the position, but urge you to keep trying to find a candidate who is at least fulfills the minimum requirements you yourself set. I would also suggest that naming his business Gun for Hire demonstrates a tone deafness in this candidate and is congruent with our values as a community. On a separate note, I would like to thank board member Manny and Cuttle for their dedication and service to the district. The work they have done on the board has made our schools better, safer, and more welcoming places for all children. Thanks also to board member Sabin for his willingness to step back into the fray. Lastly, we are nothing without our teachers. Please do your very best to help them in these contract negotiations. Again, that was Jocelyn Ryan. The next written public speaks is Nicole Levitt from Maplewood. I understand that SUMS has gone virtual for the remainder of the year due to an uptick in cases. I was under the impression that only verified in-school transmission would require a school to return to virtual, and so would like to know the parameters under which an uptick in cases can trigger virtual schooling. It seems very clear that we all have widespread community transition as Omicron variant has taken hold, and I would urge the district and the community health departments to review their guidance regarding virtual school and quarantine. The CDC now has advocated for a test to stay policy that would require no quarantines for those who continue to test negative. All measures must be taken to ensure that our schools stay open for in-person learning. We have lost too much already. Again, that was Nicole Levitt. The next written public speaks is from David Yazdan of Maplewood. We are destroying the future of our children with your disastrous reactions to so-called spread of cases. Not illness, but spread. The learning loss from disruptions in remote learning will be impossible for most of these kids to make up, and we all know the top reason for dropping out of school is the feeling of falling behind. I'm witnessing this firsthand with my kids. To be so blasé about the negative side of denying children in-person learning, social, mental, educational, when the science supports keeping kids in school, makes no sense at all to anyone who needs the data. If I had the choice, I'd pull both of my kids out of Maplewood schools, but unfortunately, I'm stuck here. You all should be ashamed of yourselves and resign from your positions. I don't know how any of you sleep at night unless you truly hate children. And that is, again, David Yarsden of Maplewood. Okay. The next written public speaks is from Heather Slavsky of Maplewood. After reviewing the agenda for this evening, I begin to wonder if a comedy writer is behind working for the district. It seems like an SNL sketch, or maybe Punk'd, is returning with a Soma episode. It is so outrageous as to be not believable. Liberal town talks about restorative justice incessantly and create a school and community safety director position that requires at minimum significant experience with children with special needs and restorative justice. And the district goes with somebody who literally calls himself gun for hire, writes about SOLs going into combat mode, argues for increased police activity in schools, and refers to schools as criminal hotspots. Of course, this is all happening with a significant salary behind it that is added onto the agenda on the very day that teachers have a rally plan seeking better contracts. It seems that this is not a joke, then it is offensive, that it is intentionally aimed for destroying the morale for the frontline staff. Sadly, I'm left hoping that this is some poorly executed prank, as seems to be the only reasonable explanation, and the candidate so obviously fails to meet even the minimum requirement listed in the job posting. I can't imagine any member of the Board of Education actually supports this appointment. I hope I am correct. Again, that was Heather Slavsky. The next written public speaks is Allison Tragash, thank you. Thank you. Of South Orange. I'm submitting this comment in support of our district's amazing educators. It saddens me as a parent that after 2 years of pivoting back and forth between asynchronous learning, all virtual hybrid, that we cannot come to a powerful resolution and get our teachers a contract and salary agreement that matches those of our most surrounding districts when they deserve. This past Friday's TikTok warning was just another reminder of one of the many ways our educators put their lives and well-being of our students ahead of their own. My daughter has the most incredible teacher this year. If we all want to retain our wonderful teachers, we need to do better for them the way that they are endlessly doing for our children. That was Allison Tragash. Next written public speech is Kathleen, can't see.
Cargill.
Thank you. Kathleen Cargill from South Orange. You are voting to hire a guy who names his company Guns for Hire LLC and pay him $100K for a 6-month contract. How is that even being entertained? Gun for hire? What towns does the board think that they are representing? Wild West Brooklyn seriously does not seem any appropriate choice for de-escalation or any potential threats. What experience does this person have with children? Again, that was Kathleen Cargill. The next written public speaks is Allison Kopcha, South Orange. Where is the transparency and/or data regarding in-school transmission rates to support this last-minute, highly disruptive move that affects faculty, families, and students alike? Guess testing out was too difficult for you, so you took the easy way out. Again, that was Allison Kopcha. The next written public speaks is, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure. Okay. Written public speaks is Anna Rolnick from South Orange. I'm very concerned about the candidate, Dr. Jeffrey Dino, being considered for security director in the district. I'm strongly against increasing the militarization of our schools. My daughter, who's currently a 7th grade at Assam, has previously addressed the board describing the traumatic experience during a code red lockdown drill and how it led to her denying herself water during the school day for fear of being isolated in the bathroom during an active shooter drill. She developed severe headaches from dehydration before her pediatrician intervened. And my concern is that with leadership from Dr. Dino, our children would needlessly be subjected to traumatic dramatization active shooter drills. And Dr. Dino's dissertation on active shooter drills articulate a direct conflict with the social values of our town. You should not be in charge of security in our schools. Thank you for your consideration. Again, that was Anna Rolnick. The next written public speaks is Julie Dection from South Orange. Please come back to the table to negotiate with our teachers. It is heartbreaking to hear stories of our teachers. They are truly a lifeblood and magic of our district. The robust and diverse education curriculum means nothing if there are no qualified teachers to teach it. Again, that was Julie Dection. I'm trying to see. Yep. The next written public speaks is from
Adam Jaskowak.
Thank you. Of South Orange. Can you please explain why the district is using an uptick in community case numbers to determine making schools go virtual, even noting that the transmission is not due to school spread? Governor Murphy even said in his update today, cases of in-school transmission do remain somewhat rare, thanks large in part to the layered approach to student and staff safety. So we are removing students from a controlled, safe environment and having them spend more time in an uncontrolled environment where everything else is open with little to no safety measures. It's been almost 2 years now. COVID is endemic. Let's stop making shut down entire classes, schools as a default. Let's move on to test to stay, a consistent testing program, upgrading ventilation, things that actually help to contain COVID and keep our kids safe at school.
That concludes our second public speaks. Dr. Taylor, care to respond?
So any comments regarding collective bargaining, we of course cannot comment beyond what our board president's statement was for those who are still with us. Additionally, for those who had concerns around the candidate for the lead security position, as I stated during the action portion of our meeting, I pulled that recommendation for further consideration. That concludes my comments.
Okay, that concludes our second public speaks. We'll now move on to new business. Does anybody have new business?
I just,
You want to go? What is it? Is it short? Okay.
yes, I will be very brief. I wanted to remind the community that Essex County is doing a free food delivery holiday box drive tomorrow. Information is on the Essex County website. It's free frozen turkeys and holiday food boxes for families in need. First come, first serve.
Thanks, Board Member Cottle. I'd like to make the following motion that I believe the board has been made aware of. And so let me read it into the record. Excuse me. This, I guess, would be 4238. Is that correct? All right. Whoops. Whatever. It's fine. 1 second. Let me, because people are going to see the. Okay. Here we go. Shit. What did I just do to myself? I lost everybody. Sorry. Okay. Apologies. Here we go. Resolution 4238 for action. Subject rescind Board Resolution 4147A. Whereas at its May 17th, 2021 board meeting, the board voted on policies in Resolution 4147. This is, all right, voted on Resolution 4147 for the following policies. 2362, Library Media Center, 2415.02, Title I Fiscal Responsibilities, 2530, Resource Materials, 5533, Use of Tobacco Products, 5756, Transgender and Non-Binary Students, 6112, Reimbursement of Federal and/or Grant Expenditures, 6311, Contracts for Goods and Services Funded by Federal Grants, 7441, Electronic Surveillance on School Buildings and on School Grounds, as a single vote. And whereas certain board members have indicated that their votes on the policies would have been different had the board voted on each policy individually, and whereas in light of the concerns raised by certain board members as to the impact of their single vote on numerous varied issues, the board has determined it is appropriate to rescind Resolution 4147 and put forth individual resolutions for consideration as to each policy covered by May 17, 2021 Resolution 4147. Therefore, be it resolved that May 17, 2021 Resolution 4147 be and hereby is rescinded, and be it further resolved that since each policy has gone through the requisite 2 reads prior to the May 17, 2021 meeting, the board will now consider each of the policies previously set forth in May 17, 2021 Resolution 4147 separately as individual resolutions. May I have a second?
Can I second?
Thank you, Board Member. Excuse me. Thank you, Board Member Malaspina. Any discussion?
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina?
Can you, I'm trying to understand why we are bringing this up for a vote when it's the exact same resolution as last month when you refused to bring it up for a vote.
I wasn't comfortable bringing it up last month. I didn't have to, and I didn't. Any other discussion of Resolution 4147? I mean, excuse me, 4238. Thank you. Mr. Burnside, can you please call the roll?
Board Member Bergen,
No.
Board Member Petal,
No.
Board President Joshua,
Yes.
Board Member Manny,
No.
Board Member Malaspina,
Yes.
Board Member Saban.
Am I allowed to vote on this?
Yes.
All right, I had recommended no, but if,
Oh, I don't know. That's why I've been, yeah. Okay, I abstain.
Board Member Siders,
No.
Get them.
Board Member Winkfield,
No.
Board Member Wright.
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Board Member Manny to read another hand-carried resolution into the record. I believe this one would have to be 4239. I think it says 4238 on here, but I believe it should be 4239. I will pass it around to the board as Board Member Manny begins speaking.
So whereas the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education is fully committed to supporting all students, families, staff, and community, and whereas the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education was a leader in crafting LGBTQ+ policies to protect the rights of children and staff, as well as create welcoming, inclusive learning environments, and whereas the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education had a norm of placing all policies for first and second read into a single resolution, And whereas that norm created situations where individual board members could not easily separate a single policy for an individual vote, and whereas the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education has subsequently changed the norm to include separate numbering of each policy to make a separate vote easier for board members and easier for the management of the meeting process. And whereas the May 17th special board meeting of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education included a resolution that had multiple policies in one resolution. And whereas board members expressed the desire to sever a policy for an individual vote, which semantically was not recommended by legal counsel at the time, but could have included a motion to withdraw the entire resolution and rewrite the resolution to include this opportunity to vote separately on the policies. And whereas a process to rescind the original resolution and revote on individual policies has the potential to create additional confusion with respect to the status of those policies from May until now, and in particular, the potential impact on federal funds. And whereas the minutes of the May special meeting can be formally amended, therefore, the South Orange Maplewood School Board would like to formally amend the May special meeting minutes to include a copy of this resolution as well as this language following directly after the notation of the vote on the agenda resolutions. During the May board meeting, there was a desire by some board members to vote separately on the policies. Due to procedural norms and legal advice, the severing was not granted. The result was that board members voted no to express their objection to a particular policy, but had the result of signaling to the community that they were against all the policies, including the LGBTQ student policy. This was an unfair conclusion for anyone in the community to draw, and any public shaming of board members for individual votes should not be tolerated in our community. All current board members as of December 2021 affirm their commitment to all students, families, and staff, and commit to ensuring that all children and staff feel welcome and included in our learning spaces.
Second. Need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Board Member Malaspina.
this was just presented, this was never presented to the full board for discussion. I would like to hold off on this so we could have a chance to fully read it. I literally just got it a second ago, emailed to me, so I haven't even had a chance to understand the full resolution prior to voting for it. I'm not against it, I just need to be able to read it. I don't even know what was just said.
Board Member Wright.
Yeah, I'm a little baffled by this as well. I think that, when we bring things at the last minute like this in the midnight hour and everybody's exhausted, it's very difficult to make a decision. It might be something very, very good. I don't know. I don't understand, and I haven't had a chance to read it, and I'm listening to Board Member Manny read this resolution, and I don't know what it means or why it's being read. I do know that with the prior resolution that we discussed and we just voted on, it has something to do with that. I'm just not clear on it. So if we could table this so that we have a chance to look at it and bring it back in January, so just a couple of weeks away, I would appreciate that.
Board Member Manny.
This is sort of like.
Sorry, I apologize, Board Member Wright. I couldn't see your face. I thought you were finished. Sorry for cutting you off. Please go ahead.
I'm used to it. It's okay.
All right, Board Member Manny, did you want to add anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Board Member Wingfield.
I appreciate the solution that's contained within the resolution because I think it acknowledges the problem, I think, that was caused from our votes back in May. the statement contained at the end and the solution to actually include that in the record, I think is really important based on the concerns I've heard from some of my board colleagues. And I think that resolving it tonight with the last meeting of this current iteration of the board is really important so that we don't allow unfinished business that's sort of unique in its nature to carry over into a new configuration of the board.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes.
Board Member Manning? No? Okay. Are those new or old hands, board members Melsmina and Wright?
New hand.
Okay, board member Melsmina?
It's new for me as well.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to read it right now and I'm struggling because I literally have just seen it. So I don't have a chance to look it over. But I have concerns because it doesn't address, I don't think, but I don't know, all of the concerns. Like, we were in favor of a lot of the other resolutions. So yes, the LGBTQ one is very important and something I fully support. But I also very fully support the resource policy and a lot of the other ones. I mean, I read the resource policy one.
Well,
I'm not sure if that's in here. So I really would like us to table this so that we can have more time to understand it. If you saw this, Board Member Wingfield, that's great, but it wasn't shared with the full board until, so I'm asking that
No,
until
I'm gonna
the
go
full board gets to see it, we table it.
to, board member Bergen?
I just wanted to suggest perhaps we could take a 5-minute bathroom break and give people time to read it and then reconvene and see if that helps. I don't know.
No, I need more than 5
I'm
minutes.
sorry,
Board
but,
board member Melsmina, please, let me just try to maintain order here. Let's go to board member Wright.
This is the most ridiculous thing. Clearly, everyone seemed to have known about this policy except me. And to bring something like this at this time of night that you had all along that you could have sent to us to read is unconscionable. And it shows how fractured we are as a board to do things and introduce things that nobody knows about except the inner circle. And that's the way I feel. And then to try and push this through at the last minute, it's unconscionable. I can't believe that we're sitting here doing this. The dysfunction is real. This is, I can't believe it. I can't believe we're
Board member
sitting here
Wright?
doing this.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's let board member Wright finish.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
Thank you, board member Wright. Board member Saban?
Yes, I appreciate the perception that there is an inner circle, but I can tell you that I did not see this, have a conversation about this, and I can't speak for anybody else, but I understand the intent, and I think that it makes, or it helps to bring a resolution. Typically with our board, typically with any conversation when you're negotiating, not everybody does not get everything that they want. So whether or not, if you do not believe that this is a workaround, then there is a way to make that, you can stand on that as well. But this was not shared with me beforehand. So please don't state that in public that there is an inner circle to that degree. There is a way to work with the community. There's a way to work together. And I respectfully work with everybody. So I know you know that. I know you know that.
Yes, but you weren't a part of this resolution.
I didn't say I was. No. I did not say I was. What I said was.
That you would know
Please,
anything about it.
order,
Honestly,
please.
I don't consider you part of the inner circle with this. And this is an inner circle thing.
Point of
Did anybody
order.
else not know about it?
Order.
Thank you. I would like to make one statement, which is that.
Did anybody else not know about this?
Board member Wingfield?
I did not know about this. I received this in my hand, I believe at the same time you received it in your email.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Saban. All in favor? Appears to be unanimous. We'll take a 5-minute recess and mask break, and we'll resume at 11:33 p.m. Thank you. We'll resume in 30 seconds. Thanks. Okay. Yes. All right. All right. I'd like to make a motion to resume. Thank you, Board Member Manny. All in favor? All right. Appears to be unanimous. Thank you. Board Member Manny, did you want to provide a little more color on the motion, as well as the proposed amendment we just discussed, that you just mentioned?
Sure. So, one, just so everyone knows, you can make changes to this resolution. We can modify it. I did not share this with other members of the board because it came to me after last meetings where, well, I guess going back to our summer retreat when we talked about, I made the recommendation that we revote. It went to the policy committee, and the policy committee recommended not revoting on the policies because of some of the issues that I outlined in the resolution. And then it was up for some discussion last meeting, and it was pulled because I don't think there was ever any discussion with board members about what the resolution was on the agenda. So this was an attempt to compromise and an attempt to listen to what board members were concerned about and to wrap it into a solution so that this board could move forward and the new board would be ready to go. So that was all I wanted to say.
And what about the language on the resource policy? I have here that, I guess it's the third from last sentence, we would just edit it to say, the result of signaling to the community that they were against all the policies, including the LGBTQ student policy. Proposed amendment to just, comma and resource policy.
Resource policy.
If that would be amenable to folks here.
No.
Board Member Malaspina?
I think, I can't comment right now because I literally don't have, I'm just seeing this. I really ask that we have been fighting about this for months. I don't understand why we cannot hold off just a little longer. It was not shown to all of the board members. It's at the last minute. I think there is more amendment language that I would like to add, but I don't know because I haven't had a chance to compose myself because it's also 11:30 at night. So all I am asking is that we compromise by just holding off a little longer until we can make sure that everything is done correctly. I'm not saying I'm against this, but I need to see, and I think there's some amended language because it wasn't only the resource policy, there were other policies.
Sure.
In.
Sure. So I guess,
Board Member Manning,
I
go
would
ahead, sorry.
just recommend that this board consider what it means to try to work together as a group. And, if the policy committee says it's not recommended that we revote on all these policies, then continuing to aggressively pursue that path instead of pursuing other ideas to settle the actual issue, I think has been a lost opportunity. But I will withdraw the resolution and the next board can, or we vote.
Board Member
I'm
Wright?
fine either way.
Hello?
Board Member Wright?
I'm sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
I was asking Board Member Manny, why this has to be voted on now. What is the compelling reason? Because the process of bringing resolutions at the last minute with no discussion has to stop. It must stop. And this may be a good thing, it may not be a good thing, it may be a wonderful thing. We don't know because, again, we get this Jedi mind trick and everything comes to you at the last minute and you're expected to make a knee-jerk reaction or have a knee-jerk vote. I don't understand. You know, it was my understanding that the resolution that was given tonight was supposed to correct what had happened before. And it was voted down. So I accept that. But then to turn around and to bring this at the 11th hour, this could have been brought instead of the other. I mean, I'm just really, really confused right now. And I don't understand what the compelling reason is for bringing this at the last minute when nobody has, Anne Marie, I guess you were the only one to know about this resolution or to work on it, but that's working again in isolation and in silos. And that's another thing that has to stop with this board. It has to stop.
Thank you. Board Member Bergen, sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I wish that we could all recognize this resolution as an olive branch that's being extended by Board Member Manny on her way out the door. And I think that it would be very unfair to push this on to next year's board to deal with. And they might, they may not, Dr. Joseph, they may not be in a position to be able to even vote on something like
Ms.
this.
Butler, if we did push this to the 2022 board, would new board members be able to vote on this resolution, or by its nature would they have to abstain as Mr. Saban did? Board Member Saban, sorry.
I have concerns that they would be able to vote on it. I don't think they would.
Okay, thank you.
If you're dealing with the same board, I have less of an issue.
Mike.
Sorry, I always forget that. It's like my unmute button. I have a concern about it, just as I had the concern about Board Member Saban voting to rescind something that he did not vote on.
Thank you.
That he was not a member of the board at the time.
Appreciate it, thank you. So I've heard several things here. I've heard motion to withdraw, motion to table, motion to vote. I guess do you still wish to withdraw the motion, Board Member Manny?
No, I would like to
Okay.
vote if the rest of the board is into it.
Okay, I did hear a motion to table. Is that still quote
Yes.
on the table?
Yes, it's still on the table.
All right, may I have a second
Second to what?
to the motion to table the resolution? I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Wright. All right, Mr. Burnside, we take a roll to table resolution 4239.
Board Member Wright?
Yes.
Board Member Wingfield?
No.
Board Member Siders?
No.
Board Member Saban? Abstain.
Abstain.
Board Member Malaspina?
Yes, I'd like to table it.
Board Member Manny?
No.
Board President Joshua?
No.
Board Member Cuttle?
No.
Board Member Bergen?
No.
The motion to table does not pass.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution with the recommended language in the third from the last sentence. We have the result was that board members voted no to express their objection to a particular policy, but had the result of signaling to the community that they were against all the policies, including the LGBTQ student policy, and I'm making a motion to add and resource policy, period. And then move on to this was an unfair conclusion for anyone in the community to draw, and any public shaming of board members for individual votes should not be tolerated in our community. All current board members as of December 2021 affirm their commitment to all students, families, and staff, and commit to ensuring that all children and staff feel welcome and included in our learning spaces. May I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Manny. Mr. Brightside, can you please call the roll?
Board Member Bergen,
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle,
Yes.
Board President Joshua,
Yes.
Board Member Manny,
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina,
Abstain.
Board Members Saban, Stain, Board Member Siders,
Yes.
Board Member Wingfield,
Yes.
Board Member Wright.
I abstain.
Passes.
Thank you. And that concludes is there any other new business this evening?
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina?
Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. Sorry.
Sorry.
I would like to get a commitment to work on a resolution to basically a proposal to include either a section in our code of conduct related to the BOE members' behavior or to update our 3351 healthy workplace environment policy to include the behavior of Board of Ed members, since the code of governance best practice document that we all signed is not being enforced or abided by. So I would like it if we can get a commitment from this board to look at ways to.
Thank you for that, Board Member Malaspina. It's probably much more appropriate for the new board to do so, as this is this board's last meeting. I'd also like to mention that the Code of Governance policy is enforced, and it will be updated to account for some of the things that came out of our summer retreats that will be sent around to board members after this meeting, well, not immediately after this meeting, later this week, that incorporates some of the things that we have in terms of review, because it should be on the agenda for our reorganization meeting. But in terms of the overall motion, I think in terms of the commitment, that it would be better off served having that discussion with the new board in January. Any other new business? Okay, I'd like to turn it over to Board Member Manny to make the closing motion, excuse me.
Thank you. The Board of Education will hold its annual reorganization meeting on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022 at 6:30 in this room, the district meeting room, 525 Academy Street, as well as using the online video conference platform. Action will be taken. The Board of Education will adjourn at 7 p.m. to close session in the superintendent's office to discuss personnel and legal issues, negotiations, and other matters to be announced at a later date. The Board of Education will then return to public session at 7:30. Action will be taken. The community can view the meeting from the website. And now I forgot what I was supposed to do. I only did this for 2 years. Sorry.
Ask for a second.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Saban, and Cuddle.
There we go. All in favor.
All in favor.
And can we have a motion to adjourn? I get to do that.
Yes, you
Yes.
do, for the last time.
For the last time.
All right, this meeting is now closed at 11:49 on December 20th, 2021. Stay safe, happy holidays, happy New Year, and for those of us who are returning, I will see you in January. For those of us who are departing, don't be strangers. Thank you all, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.